Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Elliott64, and welcome back to the RoboCast. I'm joined alongside Steve the American Killjoy and World of Woodrow. Once again, we're back for more talky goodness about fighty robots in America. How are we, boys? It's been a long old while.
Who are you?
it's
been that long, dude. I'm so hyped. I'm doing great. So ready for bots in Vegas again. It's been so long since they've been back there, man. I'm just ready for it to come back. You know, it's just you get the little itchies, you know, because you miss it. But Discovery's really taking care of it this time, and here we are again. More bots, more fun, more crash and bash. You know, what do you think, Jevan?
All the good stuff.
Yeah, I'm also excited for it. I hadn't watched much BattleBots in the interim because, hello, I live in the UK, and so having watched a little bit just yesterday, it got me reinvested, re-excited, re-pumped for the series. I've been through phases with it. Bits of it have made me concerned. Bits of it have had me sort of on tenterhooks. But I think I'm back onto the side of I'm ready for a new season. It's going to be good.
I mean, to be fair, you say we live in the UK. We have recently, within the last few months, actually got seasons 1 and 2 from ABC on Netflix.
Long last.
I know. I mean, to be fair, we had them on Spike TV, which was, something in its own thing. But to actually have them on Netflix is, at will. You can just go and watch it. It's wonderful. It's just a really nice feeling to have. Hopefully, I think that the plan is to have the other 3 seasons to date put on there, isn't it?
If the viewing figures are good. So if you want that, people over here in the UK and around the world, keep watching BattleBots. Don't just watch it once.
Watch again and again and again.
Keep watching it. Get those viewing figures up. Come on.
Just have it on in the background while you're sewing or something. I don't know.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. And obviously, Steve, you mentioned going to Vegas. I mean, technically they were there in 2019 as well with the Remars event.
That's true. That is true. They did kind of get their feet wet by kind of going to going to Las Vegas Motor Speedway and just hanging out and busting things up.
I wonder if that was part of like the logic, like the fact that they were able to get the arena up there and kind of thought, oh, actually, maybe we could relocate here because it's not, I know there were issues in the pits. I'm sure we could discuss that at some point throughout the season.
Right. Yes. I mean, the thing is, they'd been there before. They've been there in '99. They went there in season 2.0 with BattleBots when the All American Sports Park was a thing. Before is it still there? I don't know. I'm not a Vegas goer. But it's the fact that like they're back and it looks like it's going to be a home for them. It looks this Caesars Convention Center seems to fit them right. It's it's a very unsuspecting building just kind of on a street. It's not like in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a desert somewhere where you'd figure you'd find fights like this. But hey, it's a good spot for them.
Oh, there's a restaurant. Oh, there's a hotel. There's BattleBots.
It's your average Vegas fare. It's fine.
Yeah, it's literally next to an employment center. There's photos circling about of it. I mean, you say as well, it's going to become a home for BattleBots because obviously we can also now confirm that there actually is going to be another season in 2022. They renewed it for 2 seasons this time, Discovery, which is great for teams who didn't come for the 2021 season. They can plan ahead. They can say, okay, well, this money that we've invested in the machine, it may not go to waste. We may have a chance in 2022 with a bit more development time. Yeah. It's just a really nice situation that BattleBots are in. Discovery, credit to them for believing in the show and clearly buying into what they're doing. It's a really nice. It's a nice situation for them to be in. It gives them a lot of tools in their arsenal, so to speak.
Yeah. Hopefully it does well. It does well going forward, and hopefully it wakes the UK market up. That would be nice.
They have discussed very, very briefly about the potential of if people wanted like a BattleBots in the UK or a European Championship or something like that, and I think all of the builders would be for it. The amount of UK builders who applied for this season of BattleBots was astronomical.
Yep.
We did.
Yeah.
Didn't quite happen for us on this occasion, but we weren't the only ones. We'll get to that in a little minute. But there's definitely a market for it. I think they also said themselves like pre to season 6 that they wanted to help out the UK teams as much as they could because obviously they travelled over in 2019 to one of the live events in the UK. They wanted to kind of give a chance to us because at the end of the day we haven't got a robot combat show anymore. Like we've got the live scene, which is coming back, and which is great. It's been really nice to know that it's still got a pull for the crowds in the UK, because the crowds were electric at the Crawley event we had in October, but it's not the same. Like as much as it is great, and I love the live scene over here. It's not quite dressing up and getting your robot all flashy and showing it off to the whole of the country in one sitting. It's not quite the same level. So I will give the BattleBots guys credit for at least exploring that, and really giving a chance to a lot of the UK teams that they do put the effort in. They do have the showmanship, and it's
a huge untapped market.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, BBC. I mean, anybody.
Any network,
even if it's not the BBC, that's just the big one.
Dave,
come on, Channel 4.
Dave, Channel 4.
Let's go, Channel 4.
Good old Channel 4. Hopefully, well, you never know. We never know what's going to happen in the future. I suppose at this point we should really talk about the UK and indeed the European teams as a whole, because oh boy, there was a bit of a mix-up, to say the very, very least. So for those who have obviously seen the robot list already, and a lot of teams would have posted on their social media pages, a lot of the UK teams this year and the European teams were not able to go despite being accepted to BattleBots due to a visa processing issue, which supposedly was exactly the same as the beta team went through last year, and they obviously were able to compete, but possibly due to the state being changed, California maybe were just a little bit more like accepting of a team in the difficult times that we were living in. And Vegas was a bit different. Obviously, it's a different state attorney for, it's just one of those things.
We're 48 contiguous countries over here. Everything's a little different everywhere.
Yeah.
One United Nation, 48 different governments.
Basically,
and the two that are off in
doing their own thing. Good old Alaska and Hawaii. But for a bit more clarification, so a lot of the teams that were accepted, teams like your Monsoons, your Beaters, they weren't able to travel, and I feel so horrifically bad for all of them, because obviously they go through all this effort to get the machine ready early as well, because they can't just drive there; they have to have it shipped over.
And the robots were shipped as well.
The robots were there.
That's
the worst part.
Yeah,
sad waiting
for their owners.
Nobody ever came.
Nope.
So Monsoon, Beta, Sabretooth from Robot Wars, that team were coming over with something
ominous.
Yeah,
Ominous
too, from the Netherlands. The team brought us Reality before on BattleBots. All four of those unfortunately didn't make it. We do got one.
We do got it.
We do got one European team in Jager, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Of course.
And other technically UK teams, because they got shared and stuff.
Kind of.
The bot share program,
Yeah.
Yeah. Another bot that wasn't there though in 2021 is two-time champion Bite Force. Now, where do we go with this one? Because there was a very long post made by Team Aptics on Facebook and their other social medias, talking about basically their desire to compete. They do want to compete, but they wanted to do something different with Bite Force, and it ultimately would cost them an awful lot of money. And every single team is exactly the same. Of course, every team has to spend an astronomical amount of money, especially those that want to be very competitive, like obviously Bite Force do, because they've won 2 titles. They don't want to just turn up. Let's be real. And it was I can't remember the exact terminology, but I'm sure one of you's probably got the post up.
I have it here.
Steve, take us away.
So he's going through this whole post. Basically just covers the fact of trying to get some kind of contract agreement improvement with the teams in BattleBots, trying to get some kind of compensation for these teams, because as we were speaking earlier before we started recording, Sam, a lot of these teams, all of these teams, it seems to be operate at a loss. This is not a profit venture. This is a passion venture for a lot of these groups. And
we should just stress as well,
taking a stand.
We should just stress as well, this has been the same way for a very long time, and I think
ever.
What with Paul having quite a lot of sway in the community. Let's face it, he's won BattleBots 3 times out of 5 since it returned, and the 2 times he didn't win it. 1 time he didn't turn up, so you kind of get an idea of just the amount of success that this guy has. He's an incredibly competent builder, and what he says and what he does obviously carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So I am absolutely respect him for standing up and saying, okay, why can't we, gain money from this? Why can't we get a different?
Because it's got to be sustainable.
Exactly.
It's going to get to a point where you're going to start running the pot dry for some of these teams, and you'll start, seeing less of them show up because it's just they can't
them completely.
You can't just say I'm going to go over and lose thousands of dollars worth of metal and electronics, for something that I'm just doing for, a hobby.
For fun. Yeah.
It comes down to the point where BattleBots were going for the angle, and I think still are going for the angle that this is a sport, first and foremost. And you see in every other type of sport, at a professional level, that their players are paid for what they do. It's that is their job. That is what they do. Now, this is slightly different in that this is a job that they go to once a year for 2 to 3 weeks and then go home again. But the point still stands that if we want this to be a sport, then the sporting people in it should, in theory, be paid.
Yeah.
And should be paid for a reasonable amount for the amount of the robot that they've had to pay for. I mean, a lot of teams will get sponsorship for the bits and bobs in their robot, but most of them are doing it off their own bat.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair as well, we spoke with Mike Jeffries, a few months ago now, I suppose, wasn't it? With when talking about season 2, and he basically said not something dissimilar, where the level of competitiveness and the level of professionalism from the teams has increased as the funding has come down from BattleBots. When BattleBots first came back on ABC, okay, yes, it was a big cable network, giving them a lot of money to produce the show. There was a big stipend at the time, and now there is next to nothing, I believe. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's basically you get your accommodation paid for, and that's about it.
Free shipping for your robot as well if you live in the States.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know if it's.
I want to say UK as well. If you're,
I
can't remember exactly. I'll have to ask someone at some point. But you get the idea that the amount of money that BattleBots themselves pump into the show for the competitors has diminished quite a lot. Now, again, we've said already, Discovery is not ABC. That you can't. You can't compare the two. It's like comparing.
They don't have the same foothold here. That's the thing. This is like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox. Those are like the big 4 in this country. If you're not on one of those, you're going to get eyes, but not the same way that you would get on one of those main networks.
Correct.
So I think I got them all. Yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is, unfortunately. And I'd like to think there'd be a solution to both sides, because I think it'd be absolutely remiss if we didn't see Bite Force competing again in some format, and Paul in general, because he obviously, as I said, he's won 3 of 4 that he competed in, and obviously he won in 2009 as well. The guy just loves winning and competing. He loves the sport in general. He takes it very seriously. He has a very methodical approach, and it's not the same without him. At the same time, I also understand that BattleBots also has to operate at a profit as well. So it's such a difficult balance, and I'd like to think at some point there will be the two sides meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
But
What's interesting is you kind of bring this up being a sport. The problem is with it being pre-recorded, it's kind of hard to bet on it.
Yeah.
So with sports betting being so profitable and prolific recently, and kind of tied into sports recently. I mean, that would help. But I mean, it gets a little gray. But like, I guess if you wanted to have it to be, really recognized as a legitimate sport, in the eyes of other people.
I mean, you need only look at the amount of, English Premier League football teams that are sponsored by betting companies. There's a good probably 2/3 that are sponsored by betting companies. Something like that would definitely increase the amount of eyes and revenue. But again,
with the production value of it being a TV show, it does have that.
Tough. It's very tough. Yeah.
It's hard to have it all.
One last thing though, before we talk about the robots themselves, I know everyone's probably like, "Oh, when are you going to get to talk about them? We've got other things to discuss first." It's very important.
There's many things that have happened.
Well, there is
in this timeline.
Not least of which is the arena has changed. Yeah, this is a big contentious talking point. I actually got put in my place by a very reputable builder, not too long ago, about about their thoughts on the aptly named The Shelf was the original working title. I can't remember the exact name that they've gone with in the end. There is an official name for it now.
Yeah, I'm going to do some research while you're talking.
Did not know that. That's news to me.
Yeah, there was a post not too long ago where they give it the official title that it's going to have in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But the working title was The Shelf. And it's basically this. It's a 6 by 6 foot by 6 foot, basically raised area off the floor.
It's a way. Yeah, go ahead.
It's behind the screws, and they kind of it's like this big ledge, if you like. It's big. It is a shelf, basically.
It's like you were in Fusion 360 and hit extrude and just kind of extruded the spike strip out. It's like, oh, that was there the whole time. It's like they pulled a drawer out, from the side of the box.
That is a great analogy. I love that. You're not just a pretty face, are you, Steve?
Ah.
But I think the initial idea was for it to be to be raised, and then it was like a shallow pit, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
However, the two side areas have a gap in the wall that you can just drive off it. So it's a bit unusual, and I don't really know why they changed that. I think it would have been a lot more fun as a raised pit, but
yes.
It offers a bit more jeopardy that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now it doesn't feel like a punishment if you get stuck up there. Whereas now you don't even have to drive off the screws; you just drive off the other edges.
Yeah. And the ruling of the judges' decision, not the judges' decision, the rules.
Yes.
The rules. Whether if you landed on it, then you might get counted out. Well, that's true of anywhere in the arena if you stop on it for long enough.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a very we're doing things. Look at this, woo, sort of thing. I'll be interested to see how it plays out, and its official title is The Upper Deck. Shelf is better.
I'd rather be called The Shelf than The Upper Deck. It sounds like I'm on a cruise ship or something.
What excursion will we go on, boys?
Cruising for a bruising when you go up there.
Oh, very good. See,
hanging out in the Antilles, man.
Yeah. So somewhere, very, tropical. I think that sounds good to this time of year.
It may cause people some problems.
Yes.
But that's true of any part of the arena again.
It was a way for them to have something in the arena almost to replace the now missing out of the arena zones.
Oh, that's what offends me more about the arena changes. So for those that don't know,
it's for safety.
It is for safety.
It's really for safety reasons, but the fact that it kind of,
it limits certain weapons quite a lot.
It actually moots the final from last year. Spoilers. If you haven't seen that, what are you doing?
It's been told to be for safety. I'm not sure if I fully believe that.
I do get it. So let's say, for example, hypothetically, Tombstone, when it got flipped out by Endgame last year, let's say, for example, it lands the other way up and gets stuck on.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have to wait a long old time for Tombstone's batteries to die, and I'm not being funny, I ain't sticking my arm near that, because it'll be gone. So, I get it. It's an unfortunate thing that we've lost a potential way of knocking an opponent out. We saw last season quite a lot of Utas in the kind of gap in between the main polycarbonate shell of the battle box and then the inner, Lexan as well.
Yes.
We saw Hypershock go out there against Hydra. We saw Tombstone go out there against Endgame, as I said already. A couple of years ago we saw, was it P1 that went out there as well?
P1 was slotted lovely.
Duck, I think, before as well, want to say?
The upsetting thing about this is that Utas take a lot more precision than just hitting something.
Correct.
And I feel it is a more difficult way to get a robot out of the fight.
Yep.
What they've done is that they've sealed off between the inner layer of polycarbonate and the outer, so that it's just sort of this sort of shape. It's got like a slanted side. The King of Bots arena had this. It worked really nicely, but they still had the Uta zones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Uta zones have been written into the rules that if you are flipped out
they're also pits.
If you're flipped out intentionally, the robot, the aggressor robot, is disqualified from the match. If it was an accident, it will go to a judge's decision up to that point.
How do you
which
determine
is
an
very
accident?
grey area and just causes more controversy. And we saw enough of that last year to last us a lifetime.
We did.
I am going to make a bold prediction that it won't stick, because I think Utas are a very skilled way of getting a fight done. I'd also say that it's an advantage to having a non-spinning weapon. Although, as you said earlier on, last year's final between two spinning robots ended that way. So if you have that rule in place
with the robot that didn't have the lifting arm,
exactly. If you have that rule in place for last season,
Whiplash
is the champion.
Right.
Crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy.
Unless you can determine that Endgame did it accidentally,
which they definitely did, because
no.
But the thing is with BattleBots that's different about particularly Robot Wars is if you are ooted in Robot Wars, you are eliminated on the spot.
Just like
right?
that. You touch you touch the outside of the arena, you're done. There's no getting back.
I mean,
BattleBots is different.
Yeah, but you can, if you have the capacity to claw yourself back in, you absolutely can.
Now, I think this might be where the safety stems from. If they just did a rule that if you go out of the arena and touch the floor out of the arena, like they do on multiple other weight classes and things, it's a rule in the UK beetle weights and things. If you touch the floor out of the arena, you're out. That's it. It's an instant knockout.
The floor is lava.
Yeah, exactly. So if they did that, the opponent isn't going to then try and get back in. They're going to turn off everything, and that's that. That would, I think, be more safe, honestly.
It makes a good, makes a very good, way of looking at it.
Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I should also, kind of stress that the arena profile itself has actually been changed to kind of further make it difficult to get the robots up, especially by the doors, because they're a lot more shallow, the doors now, rather than, they were kind of squared off previously, whereas now they're a lot more shallow.
There's a few other small rule changes this year that I just wanted to very, very, very quickly touch on.
Yeah.
So,
because I want to get to the bots, man.
The judging criteria, damage, control, and aggression has been, especially damage, has been weighted by what damage you are taking. So if it's cosmetic damage, it's going to be less than internal damage. So internal damage is worth more than external.
Which it should be.
Yeah, the new judges guide looks great. Looks really solid. I'm hoping
love the damage matrix.
Yeah,
it kind of clears it up. Oh my!
Yeah, it's going to be really nice to see if it works in practice. Really, it has been a labour of love for the people who have worked on it. I know. Another rule change this season is regarding how much you can change your setup before you go into a fight. So you have to lock in a certain style before you go. I think it's half an hour before you go into the fight. That's where you stop. The cutoff is, and you can't just be changing your setup
to match your opponent.
Yeah,
it's got to make weigh-ins so annoying for the backstage team. If you're constantly changing your setup, because who knows, you might slip something in there, So
you have to weigh it in.
Not saying that happens.
Yeah, you have to weigh it in. As soon as that's done, it's done. You can't then change. So if you've put on the wrong setup, whoopsie, unlucky. Do your best. There is one last rule on corralling, or as I like to call it, the anti-Hydra arms.
Anti-Hydra armor.
Yeah.
Now, the Hydra arms weren't the controversial point, I feel. It was the fact that they sort of sat in the corner and wouldn't let Huge out.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that anymore. If you are told to move away, you move away. Otherwise, you are given a formal warning.
Which, to be fair, which is what we kind of said last year when we spoke about the fight. Like, we kind of said, why couldn't they have started counting Hydra out if they weren't prepared to let Huge go?
Yeah.
Which is what they've now done. Which I'm also very glad that they've introduced that, because the shelf itself now introduces these kind of corners of the arena which are very difficult to get out of, especially for a bigger robot like Huge or like Smee, for example. It'd be almost impossible to get out of that corner.
Yeah.
So it's good that they've actually kind of thought, well, actually, we need to do something about this, because people are just going to start employing the tactic of put a bike crack on your robot.
Smother.
Yeah, which is it's a great idea, but it needs to have some kind of, it needs to add to the show rather than take it away. And as much as I thought the Hydra rack did in fact add to the show, I thought it was a great piece of...
Oh, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant tactical move.
Yeah.
Because it's not in the rules yet. Here's a good example. Brilliant tactical rules. I watch American football. Maybe I'm not the only one here. But there was I think it was a game where I forget what two teams were playing. Maybe it was the Ravens. I don't remember. But the long snapper snaps the ball to the punter, and there's like maybe 15 seconds left in the game. So instead of punting the ball back to the other team, the punter just holds the ball, goes back into the end zone, and takes a safety, which is 2 points for the other team. But they were ahead by more than 2 points, so they won. So it's a weird loophole that you're like, man, I never would have thought that that could have been a way that a game would have ended. But then they realized, probably shouldn't be able to do that anymore. It's weird things like that where like you don't expect a team
think outside the box to be
exactly
really
yes. So yeah, with Huge being the way it's designed, it was almost designed perfectly for such a happenstance to occur.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Something that a head teacher of mine once said is fun isn't fun unless you have rules. You have to have the boundaries in place of what's pushing the line, basically. So yes, you can have these attachments on, but if you do this, it's no longer fun. It's like with the size ruling. Yes, we can have bigger and bigger robots, but if you have a robot that fills the arena and can't let anybody else move, that's no longer fun. You have to have endpoints set, otherwise it's not worth doing, basically.
Right. Yeah, there comes a point where you have to. Okay, it's for the good of the show. Especially, like, you know, if you want to do that in, like, you know, in the live events and just be annoying, then you go ahead. But, like, for the fact it's a TV show, for the fact it's designed around, you know, trying to become a champion of this TV show that's been running for, you know, nearly 20 years, you've got to think, well, actually, let's not take the mix sort of thing. Let's, you know, have a little bit of sportsmanship and kind of say, okay, not sportsmanship, that's the wrong word, but, like, you get my drift. Like, let's not take it too far.
Yeah. Right, I agree.
Right then, moments literally all two of you have been waiting for.
Robots.
We are here to discuss the 2021 entries into BattleBots, and no, sadly, Two-Headed Death Flamingo is not one of them. I'm very sorry.
Instagram, though. What the tease, man.
Next, you'll be telling me Nuts 3 isn't in.
Oh, I know. Thank you, Craig Danby, for that amazing photo. And the best bit was, like, having Pete Abramson. Like,
I was going to say, Pete there. It was framed perfectly.
Yeah.
Do you know, for the smallest moment, it was going in the news, and then I was like, yeah, I ought not, just in case.
I'm glad you, like, I hope people bought it had as much fun with it as we did. So it was good fun. We had a lot of fun.
I think my exact reaction was, "Oh, you."
You didn't no. Your exact reaction was something a lot stronger. I'm sure it was. We can't air that, can we? So right. Let's start with all those robots with the letter A.
Yep. Good. Moving on.
Moving on then. Yeah, it's so strange. There's no robots that begin with A this year.
No axe backwards. No Aegis.
No axolotl.
Oh.
So strange. Oh. Well, let's start. Oh.
No aggressive polygon.
No.
He's
sad. He's very happy. I can see him.
He's very happy.
So our first robot for this year is Big Dill.
There's a happy face. Look at that.
Yeah, you can see
what
that.
A smiley boy.
Designed in part by Team Immersion's Adam Hamilton and obviously Emmanuel Carrillo, back again with an all new and all bespoke Big Dill, which I think is very, very exciting. For me, didn't quite have the best season, but considering it was literally just a retrofitted Warhawk chassis, I think it did okay. It lasted 3 minutes against Lockjaw, I want to say.
Just
about.
It was being counted out, and then it stopped being counted out because it moved about that much.
And no shame there.
Yeah.
And I think it lost. Its only losses were to Bounty Hunter winners. So it lost to Gigabyte. No, it wasn't Gigabyte. That was Claw Viper.
No, they did lose to Gigabyte.
They did.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So they lost to Gigabyte, they lost to Rotator, and they lost to Lockjaw. They were their only 3 losses all season, and and all 3 of them went on to win Bounty. So no disgrace there.
No.
I'm intrigued to see how Big Dill gets on. It looks a massive step in the right direction.
Yep. The pickle forks are back, man. I'm really excited to see it back.
It is the funniest.
Come on, you can say it. I'll let you swear.
Oh, okay. It is the funniest shit I've ever seen. Turned himself into a pickle.
Emmanuel Carrillo is actually on double duty this year. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But this isn't the only robot you might see him controlling. But
can we just have a counter in the corner, just references to Jager?
Yeah, basically. At this
That's
point.
2.
Yeah. Oh, you spoiled it now, Jevan. God.
Oh, sorry. Well, just censor me out. Just censor part over my mouth.
The FCC beep.
People are going to be
I don't know
wondering
what you guys have over there.
People are just going to be wondering what you said. It's like
just put the German flag over my mouth. Or something.
He said something horrific or something. You know.
He said a naughty word, man. Children, cover your earmuffs, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anything more to add to Big Dill? I mean, it's green.
It is. I really love the design of it. It looks really, really good.
Very aerodynamic.
Yeah, you can definitely see the flair of Adam Hamilton in there as well as Emmanuel. So, yeah, it's going to be good fun. And for those, just as a little aside, we believe Emmanuel is coming over to the UK for Fight Fest. Is it Fight Fest? Yeah, Fight Fest in December. So he's bringing a little Big Dill.
I mean, to be fair, that kind of does carry because obviously Adam has a lot of.
He's bringing a gherkin.
Yeah,
he is.
Adam Hamilton obviously has some kind of involvement, I believe, with Fight Fest. I'm not too sure to what degree, but like that kind of carries over to me because obviously he helped design, Big Dill. It stands to reason that he probably had a hand in the smaller one as well. So
yeah, exciting stuff.
Very exciting. Yes. Moving swiftly on. The return of the Brazilians and the top 4 placing from last year, Black Dragon.
Within a sort of chart of types of vertical spinner, and this diagram does exist.
It's a Venn diagram these days, though.
Yeah, the Venn diagram shows that the very central robot is Black Dragon, because especially this setup, because it has elements of Drisk in there. You can see the 2 teeth sticking up there. It has elements of Egg Beater. It has elements of Vert. It's all of them. It's perfect.
I believe they have got different setups as well. They've got one of each. They've basically got one of each. They've got a Vert, they've got the Drisk, they've got the Egg Beater, they've got whatever this is.
Yeah.
The Drake
Beater. So many kinds of front ends on this thing.
Yeah.
So many wedges, so many fork setups, everything. They are so... If there's anything that I can say about this team is they are so super prepared for just about anything they can fight.
We said this with Pete Abrams last year. Like they've got such a wide array of members of their team that all know what they need to do.
The team is huge.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, they can't bring the entire Warrior
that's Black
team.
Dragon.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, you. They literally cannot bring the entire Warrior team because they span much of Brazil. I will say, I do wish it was less boxy, but it is what it is, isn't it? It's effective. It works.
It
beat Tombstone.
It did.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit fortunately, obviously very fortunate to get past Ribbot as well, despite being on fire for the entire basically 3 minutes. Okay, it was good design on their part, but
solid fight that one. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Very good indeed. I'm excited to see how they get on. They've done pretty well for the last 2 years. Top 16 in 2019, top 4 in 2020. I still think they lack a little bit of firepower to get the ultimate.
They've got plenty of firepower.
I was going to say, Sam, the tank is really on that robot.
I walked right into that one, didn't I? I walked into
that one. You fully walked into it.
But you know what I mean? I feel like it lacks that ultimate killing edge. Yeah. Like a lot of their fight wins aren't by knockout. And I don't know how many fights they won by knockout last season. I think they beat Slammo, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes. They had 2 knockouts last year. 2 of them were that one was against Slammo, right?
One was Slammo in the round of 32.
Yes, and then the other one was Claw Viper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and Claw Viper was having a lot of problems, wasn't it?
Everything else, judges' decision. So yes, they can take you the full 3 minutes. Maybe they don't have that true knockout punch, but I mean, maybe it's I don't know. Maybe that's more of a testament to the opposition that they're fighting than them not having that killer blow.
Very true. Very true. Moving on from Black Dragon, we move to a returning Blacksmith.
What is this?
This
is the natural evolution of what Blacksmith was, I guess.
Yeah, I do feel it is a testament to the way that BattleBots is going, in that you can't win a fight effectively with just a hammer. So put a spinner on it.
The natural evolution of a hammer.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me a little bit sad that Al's had to resort to kinetic energy because he's been vehemently against it in the past. And
I did find it funny that Al was trolling everyone, going, "I'm going to build a Vert," and everyone was like, "Yeah, funny, yeah, you can build a Vert, yeah, sure." And then he comes back and it's like, "Oh, he built a Vert."
It's an overhead, doesn't count.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Beetleweight and 12-pounder 3 lights and 5 lights that you see very regularly at Norwalk Havoc. It's a beautiful looking robot. It's a lot more personality than Blacksmith has had in the past as well.
Yeah,
like
the decals on it are beautiful.
Yeah,
it's a very
For those who are concerned, yes, it still has the fire.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
that's the main thing. If I had
now
the fire
will spin.
Kind of like Mammoth, Who would have thought that draw inspiration from Mammoth?
Right.
I'm excited to see how it goes on. You never get a dull fight with Blacksmith and Al Kindle.
No,
it always brings the show. Whether it will be able to do any better than it has done previously is a big question mark. Let's face it; it's an all-new robot style and all-new robot in general from 2 years ago. Obviously, Al's very experienced. He's been at BattleBots. This is now his 4th time at BattleBots.
He's a veteran builder, though. He was on the live scene for a while in the US as well.
Of course, but it's a new style for him as well with the weapon. we saw early on when SawBlaze changed to the hammer saw from the regular cutting saw. It took Jameson a while to get used to how the robot reacted. It wasn't quite stable. Could be the same kind of thing here, but I'm excited to see it, and it's great to have Blacksmith back in the arena.
Well, you bring up Jameson Go, where it's where SawBlaze is kind of a natural evolution of his Ron robots. Yep. Where you have this robot here was a natural evolution, I guess, of 3 lights and 5 lights, or like it just kind of has that background of like this isn't a new design technically. It's kind of just it kind of grew up and volumized. So we'll see how it translates to a heavyweight. I expect him to have more than 2 knockouts by the end of the season. Because that's all this robot has now, and it's older guys.
Yep.
So I would expect him to at least get 1 more, depending on how effective that spinner is. It's definitely going to take a few hits because Blacksmith, that's what they do. This thing will end up, who knows? It'll end up maybe looking like tinfoil, but it'll probably still be driving on fire,
as it's one to do.
As it's one to do. So I'm not gonna knock it till I try it. I look forward to seeing its fights.
And
Absolutely.
Of course, the award for most appropriate sponsor, their Power Hammer.
Yeah, it's just a nice look, and the green complements it so well, and the decals look so much more clean than it has done in any previous guys as well. It's a lot more personality than it ever has had before. So big up, good to see it back as well.
Oh yeah.
Now. We've waited.
Tasty.
To be fair,
bananas are tasty, man.
especially those luminous yellow ones. So for those of the uninitiated,
they give you superpowers, man.
Yes, they do. for those, for those of the uninitiated, and who have not seen, especially This Is Fighting Robots and King of Bots 2, Orby Blade is quite possibly one of the most spectacular and technologically advanced machines in all of combat robotics. It comes from a team in Korea. I'm not going to try and pronounce the guy who built its name because I don't want to, horrifically mispronounce it and come across as very ignorant. But the Orby team put together this amazing, full, custom chassis and custom spinner and
custom everything. Even their motors are custom. Their ESCs are custom. Their actual transmitter is custom. It's all custom. I love amazing. It's beautiful.
It's so over-engineered, and I just don't care. It's wonderful. It's just a gorgeous machine.
It is the Tombstone of South. Is it South Korea or North Korea?
South Korea.
South Korea.
North Korea
wouldn't play with us, honestly.
Just put them over there. It is the Tombstone of South Korea. It is super powerful. It's so powerful that it often breaks itself.
Yes.
It's got it's a different design to Tombstone at the same time, though, because the wheels are low center of gravity, meaning when it's upside down, it can't continue to drive. So they have a Shremek implemented as well. It's got this big, sturdy back wedge, which will tank a hit. It is the perfect blend, I think, of offense and defense. I'm a big fan of Orby. Blade. It's Blade V3, isn't it?
The official title of this robot is Blade V3, but you'll have to forgive us if we just end up calling it Orby Blade, because that's basically what it's been called at every other opportunity in every other combat scenario. And the team as well, they produce some absolutely spectacular robots across the board. They've got, I think they had a CO2 1-pound flipper, or is it a 3-pound flipper?
Yeah, it's this wonderful little flipper robot, 4-bar, very powerful.
Incredible.
They just manufacture the best looking robots in the world.
The most exciting thing about this robot, though, is one of their alternate weapons. I don't know if you two have seen it. It's the big orange carrot.
They are good for your eyesight, I hear.
If you couldn't see this robot, in its luminous yellow guise, the big carrot spinner. I hope they use it. I don't think they will, but I hope.
I really want to know what happened in that conversation for them to say, and yes, we should have a spinner that is the shape of a carrot. Like, how do you get to that in manufacturing a robot?
It's wonderful. It's just like it's you have this super serious high tech space ship kind of looking thing, and it's like a carrot on it. Why not?
Go for it.
Vegetables will win us this title.
No, it's a beautiful design. I really give them a lot of credit for really just making something that really is eye catching but also effective. We've seen it do all kinds of stuff overseas, and I hope it brings that over. This is one of those things where I really hope it it does better than it did overseas.
I mean, to be fair as well, this is their first time at BattleBots. They were accepted for the 2020 season. Of course, we know the state of the world, what happened with
I think they were one of the first teams to drop out of 2020, actually.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, with I think Korea's initial COVID issues were far greater than a lot of the other countries around the world. So mostly probably just due to its proximity to Wuhan and China, really. But it's great to see Blade finally make it to the BattleBots, and hopefully they do well. I'm sure they will do, but we'll have to wait and see.
Going to be some interesting matchups too. I wonder if they're going to look at some of the matches that they had over in China and say, hey, we can throw them up against the Cat King team, throw them up against the Tungsten team. We'll get to that. But just very, very much looking forward to this robot. I mean,
absolutely.
Part of me hopes they don't match them up with people from China and get them to fight some new people.
Yeah, it'd be nice for them. It'd be a bit boring for them if they just turn up and said, "Oh, we fought these guys before,"
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Jevan. I'm just going to let Jevan gush a little bit about this. So, for those who don't know, this is Blip. Jevan, take it away.
Oh man, it makes me feel so mighty and high. Blip is the best Brit flipper I have ever seen, coming from the beautiful mind of Aaron Hill over in the States. He was on the Tantrum team last season, as you may well know, and he has stepped away from Tantrum this season to bring us Blip. This thing is gorgeous and so creatively made. The design and build process is in a YouTube video over on the Team Seems Reasonable Robotics YouTube channel. It's very fast-paced video, but it shows you the maths, the workings, all of the prototyping that went into Blip. It started out as a £3 prototype that they then scaled up. It's basically a load of strings that have been bound together and then lubed up with something. I don't know what. I think it's some sort of rubber composite or something, and then it's spooled, and it is a kinetic and then potential energy flipper. So it's wrapping up all the coils, and then it releases it with the most amount of flip. It's beautiful. It's crazy, and I absolutely adore it. It is one of the best pieces of engineering I have seen in recent years on BattleBots.
Yeah, something special.
Yeah, it is beautiful. You just want to pinch his little cheeks.
No,
her little cheeks.
Her little cheeks.
I know her little cheeks. Sorry, I'm. With the thing you call a boat she, I call robots he. Sometimes it's bad. Smack me silly. But there's one of these things where I see a natural evolution of the first version of Tantrum here, where it was a flipper, and maybe this is where he wanted to go with it, and it just Leaf Spring was just a little bit easier.
If you look at last season, okay, Tantrum, obviously Aaron Hill's other team is Tantrum.
Yes,
I mean, still technically his other team is Tantrum. I'm sure he had a big hand in designing the new one, which we'll get to a little bit later on. He came top 4 with a robot, which we literally wrote it off to his face against SawBlaze.
We did.
And we definitely
still feel sick about that.
Yeah, I have egg on my face, and I look like a massive fool.
My words tasted disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I take it all back. Tantrum OP. Jesus, it did a great job. But maybe at that point, he possibly could have won the whole thing. Like, it's not inconceivable to think that they could have beaten Endgame. They were on top. Yeah. And Whiplash, it would have been an interesting fight, but I'd like to see it. But you could see, potential there. Maybe he just thought, well, do you know what? I wanted to do this in the first place with Tantrum. As you said, the original one was a flipper. He's already achieved a great deal of success with Tantrum. Why not try going back to the flipper again? And
a new challenge.
And what's been created? It's just something incredible. And some of the footage of him, they threw Mark 1 Tantrum around in a car park. It was going 8-9 foot in the air. It
leaves the frame. It's just gone.
It's unbelievable.
Crazy amounts of power. That flipper arm is thick as well. It's 2 arms with just a load of solid material in the middle of it. It's
in true Tantrum style, man.
Oh
it seems
it is
reasonable
built.
Style.
It's tiny. It's compact. It's a brick. Things aren't going to break it easily. It's driven superbly well because Aaron Hill proved that with Tantrum last season. It's got the same drive setup as Tantrum. It apparently when it spins in circles, and you can see it in the video, it will just lift itself up. It will do the Dan Tomkia thing of becoming a full body spinner, basically. It just does little wheelies, and
it's just a joy to watch. And I'm so excited to see what it can do. Is it going to do as successfully as Tantrum? I mean, maybe
I hope so.
Maybe not straight away.
I hope so.
Flippers always have to be driven more accurately than spinners. You can just throw. Well, I want to be careful how I say this, because they do take skill to drive, but not the same way as a flipper.
Not the same finesse, is it?
Correct. Yeah, you really have to pick your shots and make sure that you're not wasting energy. But this one doesn't waste any energy because
Tantrum always had to pick its shots as well. Let's not forget that it had to spin up and then punch.
Yes.
This is just a logical continuation of it, or a side stream of both old Tantrum, the flipper, and new Tantrum.
Yeah.
What new Tantrum has shown them in waiting for your shots, driving, all that stuff is going ahead in that way. And then you've got the pluckiness and the flipper of the original Tantrum. It's just such a beautiful machine.
Yeah. So wish them luck.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll be able to grab Aaron at some point for this season. And
yes, please.
Have a chat with him about it, because it is just wonderful.
I want him to explain to me in person how it works, because I sat with Alex Mordew at dinner a few nights ago, or last weekend actually. Big flex, I know, but he was explaining it to me, and his explanation, even he is impressed with it. It was asked of me on a different podcast I was on recently.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm just going to stretch those muscles as well. But it was asked, what do the British think of this Brit flipper that was built in the States? And basically, we love it, because it's so creative and such a good idea, and nobody over here has thought to do it. So big up Aaron Hill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just an incredible piece of engineering, and as I said, I can't wait to see how it does. Do you know what? It could go 0-3, and I just wouldn't care. I'd still love it. It's just as long as it turns up and flings something, maybe into the ceiling. Who knows?
Can you imagine if it did it? I want to see it fight Hydra. I really do want to see it fight Hydra. I want to have a flip off. We had it before with who's the king of the flippers, or is it Bronco? Is it Hydra? It's time for him to defend that title.
There you go.
Maybe he will. We'll have to wait and see.
New blood in the arena. Let's see.
Absolutely. So, moving on from Blip, we have something a little bit more conventional in Captain Shrederator, something a bit more tried and tested, let's say. I think last season's performance from Shrederator was their best in the reboot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hands down. Like, they ended up only winning the 2 fights, but they
were winning others until they weren't anymore.
Right.
In fact, one of theirs against Rotator was one of my favourite fights from last season in the Bounty Hunters episode. It's a real testament to say that Captain Shrederator has been a bot that I couldn't care less about over the years until last year, and they really showed up, and they showed that they could put on a really spectacular fight, and they've turned my head, and I'm watching with full attention.
Yeah, it is. It sounds, people do think that, very much of Shrederator because, it's been a bit of a meme bot, it's not won in 2 years, and people forget that the robot hits hard. It's just it's had some very good opponents over the last couple of years as well. Okay, yes, it's had a couple of Desperado failures and didn't actually win any fights even in that, but the caliber of opponents they were facing was very good. And last season as well, they were on top against Lockjaw until they weren't. Okay, that could be the same set of any fight, but they were causing damage to Lockjaw. They were causing damage to Shatter. Yes, again, Shatter, as the fight wore on, slowly came into the fight, and then eventually beat them. But
what you said about Lockjaw, the Lockjaw fight was incredibly unlucky in that they got stuck on the screws that didn't reverse.
Right.
Just happened to be one of those occasions. But it shows their potential. And I think that Shrederator, again, with a decent run of things, could do quite well. It's hard to it's weird to say because they don't change much every year. Like it's a very consistent design. You know what Shrederator is going to be, and you know how to beat it. You turn it over, you win. It's that easy. But it's getting them turned over. It's getting them to break themselves first. And every year, especially since the show's come back on Discovery, they have got slightly better. So hopefully for them at least, that trend will continue.
Turns out turning back the clock on this robot has helped them massively.
Yeah. Simplifying things, sometimes they don't need to, do anything too fancy. They've changed a lot of things back to the tech that they were using back in Frisbee back in the day.
They're doing what they know, and that is the best thing you can do, really.
Exactly.
I mean, they're going to want to put some wins together against more than just mid-tier robots, though. The one thing I will say, last year was their best year. Getting 2 wins. So that also includes the Bronco bounty. So they're going to want to have to, put some more. You're going to have to stack some wins together. For Shrederator, they have to get a couple. They have to be 2-1 for me to really think, okay, this bot's going in the right direction. Or what do you do?
They've brought some really interesting setups this year as well. They've come prepared with lots of different shells. I think the most interesting is the Freedom Wings, which is just these big metal teeth sticking out from the top and bottom, and it's just okay. You've come with something different. I mean, even this picture here is a different setup once again. The teeth looking different, and the top armor configuration is HDPE, so things are going to just bounce off of it in theory.
Yes.
A lot more shock absorbing.
Yeah.
So moving on from Captain Shrederator, we have Bloodsport, because Jevan forgot to put Bloodsport in.
That's it. Throw me under the bus. You could easily edit it before Captain Shrederator.
Oh no!
Big dickhead.
We can do it again if you want to, Jevan. We can leave it in. No. We're honest people here on this podcast. We're going to let people know what happened. Let them know about your failure, Jevan.
I'm still confused because I'm sure I had a picture of it on.
I believe you.
It's probably at the end of somewhere. We're going to get to the end. It's going to be, oh, there it is.
Yeah. In any case,
Bloodsport did really well last year.
Oh my!
A huge leap forward from 2019.
Yes.
This year, very similar in terms of. Yes, he's got it on his phone. He's a bit confused. Bless him. Compared to last year, the robot itself looks very similar. Why fix what ain't broken? But you can see the small minor details of the improvements. Like, for example, the wedge slits now look a lot more sturdy and aren't 3D printed and just going to break off.
They're lower profile as well, I think. Designed more to catch opponents instead of ride them up into the spinner.
You can see on the image itself there on your screen, you've got the kind of the lips on those at the top of those wedge slits, so you can kind of grab a hold of people. Try and get underneath and hold them in place.
For podcast listeners, just imagine it.
Okay. Imagine it kind of like. Remember how last year Whiplash had that wedge with the kind of the lip on the top, where we all did that with Aaron Hill last time, and that was good. It's kind of similar to that, but it's like wedgelets.
Yes. So it's going to be something like, say, the weapon goes down. At least you have something that can catch your opponent. You can push them around.
Exactly.
So that's a possibility.
And to be fair, with Bloodsport, the weapon did have its issues last time. Obviously, we spoke to Nick from the team during the Bounty Hunter episode, and they kind of said, well, there was. I think by that point they'd lost pretty much all of their weapon bars. Yeah. They've obviously bought a lot more this time. I think they've also changed from S7 to AR500 as well because of the shattering issues that happened last year. Yeah. Same with Witch Doctor.
Yeah, it's a similar lineage of problems.
It happened to Tombstone as well, didn't it, with their tool steel weapon?
Yes, in 2019 against.
Yeah.
Something makes me think that had a little bit more mileage on it, though.
Yes, I mean to be fair, I mean we spoke a little bit about this before. Tool steel in general. So, for example, Rapid in Robot Wars used tool steel for their flipper blade, and that shattered as well. It cut.
It did.
It cuts rather than chips.
Yeah,
it's slightly different. The properties of the weaponry, basically, the metal used. It depends on what you value more. Do you value a weapon probably being sharper and being able to cut things more easily, which tool steel is able to do, or would you rather it kind of, if you bend AR500 though, then it's finished anyway. So
yeah, as we saw,
you're either cutting or bludgeoning.
Yeah, you need to kind of decide which path your weaponry is going to take, and obviously Bloodsport have had a change of heart and kind of gone, well, actually, let's try and just hit things hard and cause some internal trauma.
Yeah,
we can all relate to that. Bloodsport did really well last time.
Yeah. Undefeated in
main competition,
fight card format,
and obviously went on to lose to Tantrum, of course. No disgrace
no
there.
Shame. No shame.
No.
Obviously, they lost to Lockjaw as well in the bounties. I don't know. Bloodsport could be a bit of a dark horse. They did, they've obviously improved so much from
It's the only robot to have taken out Endgame last season.
They were.
Yeah, that is a thing.
The eventual champions, yeah. Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Yet the one thing that got them was an angled shell that just couldn't get purchase on with Kronos. So there is a way to fight this robot. You just have to have a specific profile. But just have nothing they can catch. I believe they'll take advantage of just about anything you have stick out that has a little bit of a catch point. Mm-hmm. They're going to fling you across the box. As we saw with
the Scorpios fight last season, that was just rough. Ripping off the front left side like that. It was a really brutal fight, but excellent to see.
Yeah. Intrigued to see how they get on again this year. See if they can take another leap forward in the same kind of level as they did in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Sam.
Yeah?
When I go next, it's going to go to Captain Shrederator. You leaving that in?
You'll see. It'll be a mystery for us all.
I think you should, and we should just not reference it at all.
Yeah.
Just like, ready?
Yep.
I was not going to do it.
I had a straight face, man. I was trying.
Oh, 2, 3? What? Why has it done that?
Oh, Jevan, you've ruined it. You've ruined it. You've ruined it.
Right, moving on.
Claw Viper. Claw Viper is back from the 2020 season. Again, looking very, very sleek, and it's got a different kind of weapon profile as well this year. It's changed from its standard, grab and lift to a 4-bar grab and then standard lift.
4-bar claw. 4-bar claw. 4-bar claw.
It's so cool. And
it's all HDPE as well, isn't it?
Or UHMW or something. It's something along that kind of family. It's plastic.
Absorbent. Impact absorbent.
Yeah, that's
it's polyethylene.
Yeah, it is.
It's plastic. It's plastic. This robot looks wonderful, doesn't it? Doesn't it look good? And the changes that they've made to the wedge and the kind of the wrapping of the armor around the front looks real good. We obviously know from last year its drive power was sensational.
Yeah.
I'm excited by this.
A little bit of control, I feel, last season.
Well, you get that from having such a speedy robot, unfortunately.
And also, I can't remember if they were you coming into the 2020 season or if it was we've got some spaces, can you build a robot for us? I can't remember which one it is. I want to say they were accepted anyway. But at the same time,
comments.
There was comments. Let us know. But at the same time, regardless of if it was accepted initially or if it was accepted later in the year, it's still a new robot. It was a team that obviously had experience, being part of the Warhawk family tree of messes. It's still an incredible, undertaking, especially during, the pandemic. They put together a decent robot, and again, lost to high quality machines. They lost to Black Dragon, and they lost to Gigabyte, I think, and Kraken as well.
And Kraken, So
again,
that was a close battle, though.
Yes, it was.
And it really could have gone Claw Viper's way had things not changed towards the end of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I'm excited for more Claw Viper. Just the drive power and the way it moves around the arena alone was exciting last season, and the 4-bar claw as it's been.
I'm so looking forward to seeing. It's got this animalistic quality now, where it's gonna just kind of like
it is gonna be like a snake going.
Oh yeah,
love that.
I can't wait for it.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is gonna be very good.
And I guarantee that we'll get another segment showing how it all works, because I believe it's one.
They've got a model again there, because I think we did it on the. They did a Facebook Live for the supporters.
Sort of does that as all one thing, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's all one movement on the gear.
Yeah, it works. Like it works. I'm excited for more Claw Viper. Let's say that much. Also excited for the return of Cobalt. Not quite as we know it.
The robot share program.
Well, this is the robot share program. So for those that don't know, obviously Cobalt is a robot designed by Sam Smith and Dave Moulds from the Carbide team, who obviously won Robot Wars Series 9, came second in 8 and 10, obviously competed in the 2019 season of BattleBots to some moderate success. I mean, they beat Sub-Zero very easily, which is saying a lot how good Sub-Zero is now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they almost beat Duck, and they were a bit unlucky getting stuck on the floor the way they did. Of course, they beat Bombshell, lost to Endgame and Minotaur eventually to not get into the top 16, which is so
that was
unlucky.
A real shame, yeah.
But, I can see why they gave it to Minotaur because, they were both on level records, weren't they? So
so many of those fights in that 2019 season. I know Mr. Hypershock superfan there is probably thinking like, oh, if that one fight with Huge didn't happen, those fights were heartbreakers.
Fully of the belief that Hypershock and Huge shouldn't have been made to fight, and both should have had places. This is where the BattleBot selection committee probably needs to do a better job of actually electing.
Called out.
But this year, Cobalt is not piloted by Dave Moult and Sam Smith. Both of them, I believe, have gone on to have children.
Darn them.
And kind of had their own lives kind of take over, which that happens. Yeah. So it's been loaned over to a team in the United States, and the team being the Robotic Death Company, and specifically from that team, Matt Maxim.
Yeah. Well, Matt Maxim is the driver, and I forget everybody else who's on the team.
Brett Riker's there.
Yeah,
I've seen him in the picture.
Yeah.
It is exciting to have Cobalt back, and of course, Matt Maxim, did so well in the past with Sewer Snake and Stinking of the Killer Bee. Has a robot now, which, I mean, in the right hands, and he is a very good pair of hands, could be serious contenders, because Cobalt, when we saw it last time, okay, yes, it was unlucky to kind of lose to Duck and then obviously lose to Minotaur as well later on. It's got some serious firepower. Make no mistake, they won This Is Fighting Robots. They've won Robot Wars. They're still after that Triple Crown. And I mean, Cobalt.
The robot, or
we'll get to that later, Devin. Cobalt is something special.
Yeah. It really, really is. I really like the design of Cobalt. I mean, Sam obviously loves the design of it because it's the RoboCast logo, isn't it?
Yes. It was originally, yes. The disc was originally what was used loosely to make the RoboCast logo.
It was a heavy inspiration.
Yeah.
This is not been done is a shredding vertical spinner that just rips robots as opposed to just hitting them.
Like we were talking before, you have to choose either to bludgeon or cut.
And they do both.
They do both, yeah. They do both, and they do it very, very well. What's lacking is the little wedge on the front that they had before that kept coming off.
Yeah.
They've changed the profile of the front so that things should, in theory, ride up a little bit better. In practice, we'll see if that
I'm sure they have got alternate setups as well where they can stick it like a tongue out the front. So
I'm not so sure.
Do you think they do?
Maybe some forks. I don't know. I've not seen it. If they do, then I've not seen it. But...
I mean, they may do. I mean, we don't know because this is the only image we've seen of it so far.
And they've they've brought back the skull head as well, which is very
the bone blade. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
It looks very, very cool.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how effective it is because that was always the contentious point about this robot is it's got such a steep profile for that wedge and getting things up there. It was the one problem with the 2018 version of Witch Doctor, the 2019 version of Witch Doctor. Which one of them? 2018. Yes, the one that
had the big wedge.
Where it had the feeder wedge, and you just couldn't get purchase with that weapon, so they just stuck it out further.
Yeah. And they got rid of the wedge, didn't they? In general.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm curious to see how effective Cobalt is, but we will see. Also, BattleBots website. Builder John Maladnik, you did not build this robot. You're representing it.
This is where I hope BattleBots don't just do forgotten history and go who Dave Moult who?
Yeah.
It'd be nice if they reference it because obviously they did the same thing when in 2018 Shrederator was captained by Nick Nave and not Brian, while Brian was at King of Bots. That kind of thing.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see indeed. Moving on from Cobalt, we move to Copperhead, a team which had a giant leap forward.
Why did it have to be snakes?
Once again, the art on Copperhead is second
Beautiful.
to none. Robert Cowan's wife, I believe it is, has done the beautiful, decals and it's all hand painted. Unbelievable, isn't it? It's just it's great to look at, and it's just, it makes me feel happy.
I really love the cartoon elements on this real life robot. You look at bits of it and think,
it does have a comic feel, doesn't it? Yeah.
And then you look at the spinner and you're like, oh, this is real life. Okay. It's just beautiful. They've got the snake mini bots, of course, which are great fun.
They've got the snake.
They've got the real snake.
Actual snake.
That to me is a little bit much. I feel like maybe maybe I'm wrong, and I'm sure the team looked after the snake very carefully, and I think they only bought it out for specific shots with the team, sort of thing.
I hope so, but even then, it's sat in the noisy pits.
Yeah, in a very, very hot, environment.
It enjoys hot environments.
This is true.
Like confined spaces, hot environments.
No, I don't know. I don't know how it sits with me.
Another thing to kind of very important to discuss about Copperhead this season is obviously the change in captaincy. Obviously, we mentioned Robert Cohen already. He is now the sole proprietor and the captain, if you like, as Zach Goff has gone to do something else. I don't know.
Yeah, he's just. I think he's taking a season out. He wasn't available or something like that. He's not there. Is the main point.
Is the crux of it. And we saw Robert driving last season in the bounties. He did okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I just sneezed.
Hope that's staying in as well.
Oh yeah, I'll keep it in. Don't you worry. I have no shame. Where do we see Copperhead, falling short? Because obviously they lost to Mammoth.
Yes, they did.
To the annoyance of some people.
I was going to say they lost to Mammoth. I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
But
I thought Mammoth deserved the win. To be honest with you, I still think that.
No, of course, absolutely. There's no contention.
Mammoth won the fight. It's not contentious in any way, shape, or form that Mammoth won that fight.
Yeah.
We'll see what the deal is with Copperhead this season. It's very competently built. It's got a lot going for it. It's just whether or not the gremlins creep up. It's whether or not they get, found out by a wheelie scaffolding.
Just hang on a minute, boys. I apologise. There's somebody at my door. Yes?
I hear that.
I'm recording. But thank you. I've been brought food.
Oh my gosh.
This is staying in as well.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
We need outtakes, man.
Oh, I'm actually going to put it in. I'm going to put it at the end.
Thank you.
Don't worry.
Oh, beautiful.
Lovely. Look at that.
Oh man.
Oh, bit of scram there.
Greg sausage roll.
Is there a vegan one?
No, because I'm a carnivore.
Oh, okay.
There you go. All right.
Apologies to the vegans out there.
Vegans one's quite nice,
Sure thing.
I wouldn't know.
I'll take your word for it, Sam, while I devour my pork.
Dirty yank.
Oh, Jeff. That's definitely good at the end. Right. Let's move swiftly on before this gets taken down.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's me, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Moving on, we have Deadlift. A team which last season kind of impressed all three of us. I think, they really went for strength to strength. Jevan's enjoying his sausage roll. First of all, I'm glad that they haven't gone, we've got this really, plain and, serious robot. Let's make it even more serious. No, they've stuck a giant fist on the top of it.
Yes.
I love that. And they've also stuck, the kind of, weighing, the weight bars on the side as well, so they can easily carry the robot around. It's great. I love it. And
the free weights that look like they're sticking out of the sides on the top. It's a really nice touch.
Those handles, I hope they don't leave on for the fights, because I can see a Vert just catching that and flipping it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was
or taking off.
A competent robot last year. I think it's fair to say.
It didn't get the screen time I think it deserved, really, because it was decent in the bounties until it fell over and couldn't get up anymore. But it was managing to Gruff at one point.
It was, and also was beating Ghost Raptor in its fight as well.
And of course, until it decided, Jackpot. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it did. It was doing well again in that Ghost Raptor fight until it decided to just, not have its motors connected to its wheels anymore. And then that was the end of that. It's going to be interesting to see how it evolves, because we really didn't get a really good view of it last season. The most we really got to see it was in the bounties, because we never got to see it in the main competition. Its fights weren't aired.
Well, it had the only time it was actually referenced in the main season was its unaired fight against Mammoth.
Yeah,
that was the only time it was mentioned.
Because they were seen in the audience
a lot.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. It's an interesting robot, and I kind of like the grab and lift motif that they're going for this time instead of just the lifter.
Yeah.
So
good old harkening back to 2015 Byte Force. Maybe they can harness that energy.
But they also still have the flamethrower, which is good.
Oh wow, that's pretty good. So maybe more like complete control then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very good.
It's gonna be good fun.
Absolutely. Moving on, we have the returning Deep Six. Obviously, taking a year out last time. With not just them, obviously quite a lot of teams had a year out last year. Deep Six actually had to change their weapon design because of a rule implemented because of Deep Six. The weapon bar, I believe, was it too long before or too heavy? I can't remember what it was.
Too heavy.
That was it. There's a maximum weapon weight now, or proportion to the.
I was going to say it's really an I think it's an energy limit where it can only store enough, however many joules, I mean, there's a limit that they have to have, otherwise the box would have to be lead encased, and we'd never be able to see any of the fights. You'd have to have GoPros stuck on the inside.
I don't think that this has really harmed them, because this is a really good looking Deep Six.
Yeah, they got the stabilizer bars implemented into the design this time.
It's very nice. And it works really nicely. They've got some test videos of them self-writing and spinning up and stuff.
I was going to mention this. So one thing that fascinates me, if you look at the weapon, like, kind of collaring and, like, mount itself, you'll notice that it has a chain on the left-hand side and it has a belt on the right. Now, I'm curious, and I'm sure, someone can answer this for me in the comments, I'm sure, but I think they use one to self-right and they use one to spin up, because that way it gets around them having to have a really high torque weapon in order to self-right.
You get better torque transfer with a chain than you do with a V-belt.
Either that, or they use the chain to get a head start, perhaps.
Maybe kind of like how Gruff had the brushed and brushless drive last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Possibly, but. Again,
we'll have to get that. We'll have to get. Maybe we can get Dustin on the podcast or Hydra on the podcast, because he's usually busy judging Norwalk. So
he is, yes, just like Jack Tweedy.
There you go.
He's busy doing it right now.
This is true.
You can now you know when this is recorded.
This is true.
Hates it horribly. Enjoy.
It does.
Also, why am I not at Orlando? Don't know. It's okay.
It's the same reason why I wasn't at BBB, because I didn't have the time to get there. Deep Six is cool. I like Deep Six.
Yeah.
Fascinated to see how it gets on this time.
It's got to be better than its first outing, because
it beat Nelly quite convincingly. I mean,
yes,
that says a lot about Deep Six, really. But
well, there wasn't much. There's not really much footage of it really getting fights in. So we'll see more this time. I would expect to see more from it this time.
This is true. Yeah, absolutely. New robots entering BattleBots 2021, but from a very familiar team. We have Defender.
Very familiar to us, of course.
Of course. This is of the Vasquez family pool of robots. It's not... obviously, Whiplash isn't being replaced. Oh, no. Whiplash is very damaged on Steve's end.
He's hiding on mine. There he is.
It's behind the shatter scarf. Obviously, this is Defender, not replacing Whiplash by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, Whiplash is still very much competing at BattleBots 2021. But this is the robot being piloted by younger brother Jason Vasquez. And he also has a very, very secret weapon, which is one of his teammates.
Yes. I can't call him a weapon, Sam.
I mean, I would mess with him, to be fair. The guy's, well over 6 foot, and I feel like he'd, eliminate me within seconds, I'm fairly sure.
Man, the myth, the legend, Rob Masick.
Yeah, coming back from, well, not on the Bike Force team, obviously, for reasons we've already discussed, came along and decided to help out the Vasquezes and Defender. And what a great little team that's going to be. Interesting robot Defender. It's kind of, for those of you that out there, you Robot Wars alumni who remember Medusa 2000.
Gosh, there's a reference.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. Pull that one out the bag, didn't I? It's kind of similar to that, where the grab and lift is not actuated. The grab and lift itself isn't actuated. The lift is actuated by the robot being pushed into the floor. Oh, there you go. Steve's got some good information there for us. But basically, the whole robot grabs and lifts rather than... There you go. See, that's what I'm talking about. That robot there. And the idea is they can just carry people around and just do what they want to them, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting design. I like the fact that they've got little rollers on there as well.
To help with the lifting.
And also stabilization as well, because, you're going to end up catching an edge if you don't have that there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really interestingly designed grab and lift setup. It'll be interesting to see what they can do in the box. Obviously, they're going to have to implement using the screws and using the kill saws and perhaps the shelf and that. But yeah, they've also got the flamethrower on board, which is going to be good fun to see.
Yep.
Yeah. Got a lot of fire.
This is an interesting bot. It's turned my head. Another one that has, and I'm interested by it.
There is also plenty of great test footage of seeing them, lifting old Whiplash chassis on the Fast Electrics Robots page. I think it was, or possibly their own Defender page. But there's plenty of footage of them, showing what they can do, and it is very effective.
Yeah, we'll see if it's as durable as Whiplash.
That would be a big thing, wouldn't it? If it is, then they could be onto a serious little robot here. But it took him a few years
I'm
to
a
get
little
Whiplash
cagey,
dialed in,
we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
So this is a scaled-up version of one of their smaller robots, and Jason has won tournaments with that. So, in theory, it should be good. But as we know, that it takes
scaling
a bit of time
is
for
very different, isn't it?
the heavyweight versions of smaller weight class robots such as Smee and Pain Train. It takes a bit of working out first. Yeah,
because not only I'm sure I've said this before. We're like not only are you increasing the dimensions by 1 dimension, you're also increasing the volume. There's such a huge change when it comes to going up this huge jump to the heavyweight weight class. Because really, there's not a whole lot in the middle. You know what I mean? We have the feathers, and then it seems over here it just jumps to the heavies. So there's this huge jump that sometimes these bots have to make that maybe it doesn't transfer as perfectly as it does in the lower weight classes. So we will see. Yeah,
it's very interesting. I'm hopeful to see how Defender gets on. And hey, it'd be nice for hopefully we get Jason on the podcast for a change instead of relying on Matt like we do every year. Not that we're going to turn Matt away, bless him, we love him.
And if Jason isn't free, we'll talk to Matt about Defender.
We'll try our best to. Moving swiftly along, we have the returning Double Jeopardy. Again, a robot we haven't seen since 2019, although we didn't really see it in 2019, unfortunately, due to the way that BattleBots likes to air its fights, or not, as the case may be. This is the most solid-looking Double Jeopardy ever, and it also has more shots than it ever has done before. It can fire 3 times now. Yeah.
Bringing the magic to Vegas, are you not?
I think they're all different shapes and sizes as well. They've got 1 slug, 1 ball, and something else. I can't remember what the third thing is.
I can't remember, but I know they've got more shots than they ever have done. When they start making a semi-automatic, that's when I'm going to be scared.
It's just an Uzi in a robot.
Yeah, basically. I love Double Jeopardy. I don't even care that, let's face it. Let's be very, very brutally honest here. If Double Jeopardy wins the tournament, I'll be staggered. But I don't care because this robot is just wonderful. It's so silly.
It's doing something that no one else is doing. So it's hard to
has ever done. It's just so interesting and credit to the team as well. They turn up in. They're lawyers by trade. And they turn up in their suits and they're looking pretty fresh. And of course Evan, the team captain, every year puts out these amazing cocktails as well. Which I would love to replicate and have a few of them. They look delicious. It's just a really interesting team and robot, and thankfully they're back, and I'm very happy to see that Double Jeopardy's returned to the BattleBots.
It looks as though they've got a hole for a camera as well, which is going to be interesting to see that footage.
Yeah, or like a laser or something.
Is it LiDAR?
Could be similar to Chomp, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to see them in a fight that's not a Rumble because they've been in 4. I'd like to see them one-on-one.
Can they? Because of the COVID restrictions.
Yeah, I was going to say this could be your season 4.
See that's what I mean. Because in 2019, all of their fights were Rumbles. In 2018, one of them was, but still, this is a robot that I think has been featured more with it's one of those robots where I think they think it's going to have a better chance if it has more things to shoot at in the arena. If you're looking at production sides, but.
They did get the target on Mecha Rampage, if you remember.
That picture I still can't believe the way that blade exploded. So when it does connect, there's a lot of punch in that thing. So I mean, we'll see. I just don't know. It needs to have 12 shots. I
told you, semi-automatic. Stick an AK on it.
An Uzi. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see with Double Jeopardy. I'm excited to see it back in the arena though. Regardless of what format, how it does. Is neither here nor there. I'm excited to see it. Our next robot is a new competitor to BattleBots in Dragon Slayer. I love the artwork on the spinning weapon. It looks very, very cool indeed. I like the whole theming. I think they've copied your hat, Steve. I'm not being funny, but you might want to have a word with coming for your image,
Nah, well, what are you going to do? I mean, this is literally like I shaped Elmo. So it's whatever.
You gave Elmo a skin fade. Dragon Slayer. I mean, it's your I say your standard vertical spinner, 2-wheel drive robot, really. But I like the fact that they've given it a little bit of personality. I say the artwork on the weapon is great. The kind of the lightning and fire dragons together.
Definitely help this team get accepted this time, because I think they tried to show up before with a bot similar in design. It just didn't have the theming.
Yeah.
So now this time it's got it all, and it kind of fits. Feathers kind of fit in Vegas anyway. So
I also want to see this robot desperately fight Black Dragon.
Oh, it has to happen.
That is just a perfectly lined up fight, isn't it? Surely.
I like the fact that the front wedgelets on this are actually low, sort of scraping for quite a long way.
It's like a dustpan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Spatula.
It's sort of somewhere between Scorpios and what SawBlaze have implemented in the past. It's an interesting design. Obviously, it is a 2-wheel drive vertical spinner, which as many people will be sick of seeing by now. But I think it does enough to give it a pass, which is probably why it's been accepted as well.
Yeah.
I've seen some test footage of it. It can self-right just through its drive, so it can sort of wheelie up and get back over. You can see on there it has got some sort of rollers just in case it gets turned over and can't get back over. But if that happens, then it's not spinning anymore by the looks of things. I'm interested to see how this robot does.
Yeah, and of course they are a first-time team at BattleBots, so of course you've got to give them a little bit of leeway and kind of say, okay, well, if they don't turn up and win the whole, win 3 fights, you can kind of understand why. The caliber of competition in 2021 is just so high.
Yeah,
it's a tough one to just go in there and win fights, but we'll see. We'll see with Dragon Slayer.
Definitely.
Moving on, we have Duck, the return of Hal Rucker and his family team of, Duck enthusiasts, I suppose. Jevan, you're looking a bit...
I was going to hand this to Jevan too,
yeah.
Because I think you have the most opinions on this particular machine.
Yeah, it doesn't do it for me, Hal. I'm sorry.
But why?
I think the main thing for me is that it doesn't have a face anymore.
Yeah. It kind of does.
No, it's sort of like
the face includes 16 eyes.
Yeah,
it's an alien Duck.
it's Duck if he's wearing Geordie LaForge's eye visor thing from Star Trek.
It might be a good look.
It's just... I
don't know. Sunglasses,
I really like the beak weapon. That's really cool. Very nice. It can lift like that, which up and down. It can open its beak. It can quack. It's lovely. It's got all the lovely gimmicks. It's still got the 4 wheels. Each wheel is driven by its own separate system in the robot, and you can tell that by the dot-to-dot on the top of the robot. But it doesn't have the same personality as the last 2 versions of Duck. I do think that 2019 Duck is still my favourite version, even if it's not the one that worked the best or has held up the best or anything like that.
Yes,
it's definitely still my favourite version, and that's why they made the toy of it, I guess.
I mean, it's the one that's the most hyperactive, and you see the thing is with Duck version 1, it was probably the best in terms of competitiveness, but Duck version 2, you saw its weapon going. I think that was one of the critiques that the judges had of the previous version, was you didn't really see it doing very much, whereas Duck version 2, or I think it was Duck version 2, you saw what its weapon was doing. Okay, yes, Gabe wasn't the best on the controller, but you saw what it was doing.
Yeah,
neither here nor there.
Yeah.
What makes this robot worse for me is their wedgelet setup that they have, where they've got 2 really long wedgelets sticking out the front, and it just makes it look
long wedgelets. We're getting
ugly. It just doesn't.
Ruining it.
It's not Duck anymore. It's Proto Duck 4000.
I don't know. It does it for me. I mean, I love the Bill weapon. I think that's a much it's in keeping with the theme, and I get the idea. He doesn't have eyes anymore, but
it's a cyber duck.
What you do is
it lost that human. It lost that animalistic quality. Where it's
if you covered up the sort of 3 holes either side of the robot and leave just one hole exposed, doesn't that look so much better though? With 2 little eye holes.
Which ones would you have? The ones all the way far out near the wheels, or the ones really close to the flipper?
Oh no, you could make it look really derpy like that.
Which would be amazing. It'd be even better.
I would say the internal ones.
Okay.
If you just had that, it looks more like Duck, and I'm happy with it. So see it just,
or
even
maybe
if you just got covers over the other 6.
Well, I was going to suggest maybe because it's got black bolts in there. Why not use white bolts for?
You could do and just
make it go away.
Leave 2. I mean, if they'd used white bolts all over the robot, it would look far beter than this. Constellation.
You know how we feel when we're critiquing Duck's artistic qualities, where we know it's an effective bot, we know it can survive fights. The functionality is there, and that's the thing with the lifter. this lifting arm change was made in accordance with rules where you have to lift it up. I think you have to be able to lift something up 12 inches in the air. Did I read that, or did I dream that?
I can't remember.
Don't know.
Who knows? I mean,
making things up here.
For me, like this is kind of harking back to Duck V1, but I see what you mean as well. And the thing is, this is now. You look at Duck V1, it was very obviously based off his of Hal's other heavyweight Whoops, which is competed
heavily.
RoboCast.
Yes,
this is now a little bit further away from that. I think particularly with version 2, you kind of lost that rigidity that Whoops had, and I feel like he's trying to go back to that a little bit with kind of the more solid front end and it not being the full armed 360.
There's less catch points, on the outside with the robot. He's trying to make it so that like you're basically fighting a brick, and it is a CNC brick, as we know, as you've seen with the top panel off. It is just one big block of aluminum.
Big billet.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's nuts.
It's a wonderful piece of engineering, and for what it's worth as well, I'm so happy to see Hal back. It's
oh my God.
a great machine. It's a great machine, regardless of our differing opinions on Duck. He's a wonderful robot.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Speaking of wonderful robots, hail to the king! Yeah, Endgame returns back for BattleBots 2021. First of all, I think the biggest improvement is the team's attire, because they've brought back the sunglasses. They're all wearing fancy suit jackets.
The boys have grown up. Is what's happened. They're all suited and booted, and they look very swish.
They do, and I'm it's good to see it back, and as well as that, Endgame looks like it's grown up because you've got that beautiful kind of art in a hexagonal pattern on the back. You can see you got the big kiwi feather as well.
It looks very corporate. You know what I mean? Like if I got a corporate pamphlet handed out, somewhere, and I mean honestly, they're looking to two-peat. They're strictly business. They want that nut again. They want that giant nut again. Anyway.
Yeah, who doesn't? I mean, let's face it. I mean, Endgame, we can wax lyrical about it. I feel very smug about me calling it to win last year. There were times where I thought that wasn't going to go to plan, but obviously in the end it did. I can't see them. I mean, they're going to do very well to repeat, but it's. Do you know what? The machine is just so well put together. I mean, you can see there as well. It's got 4 weapon belts, so it's got a lot of redundancy this time as well. They've really kind of not rested on their laurels. They've bought a machine which is similar to Endgame from previously, but it's just you can see it's just another step forward.
And they've implemented magnets this season as well underneath the robot. It's going to not move, which is going to it's going to move, but it's not going to move when it hits things as
the
much.
biggest improvement though for me, and I think I'm sure you'll both agree with me here, is the fact that they've moved the social media handle off the weapon and onto the edge. And on the stream
read
as well.
It when it's spinning.
No, and on the stream mech as well, you can see it. So that's
I would also say that I'm really pleased that they've covered up the silverness of the silver box.
Yes,
it really does help the robot out.
It gives it a lot more character, doesn't it? Yeah,
almost like if there weren't already 7 Vert toys, they could make a toy out of this one. I buy it.
I'm sure they will do.
They're going to.
They want a series.
This is the sharpest looking Endgame. I would love to have this on my desk.
Oh yeah, big time. It looks.
I made a model of it recently out of a Witch Doctor version 1. It doesn't quite do it justice because everything's not quite in the right places, but it makes me excited that we might get this one day.
Yeah. This and Bloodsport would be a good pair, wouldn't it? That's the discussion for another
now they're
time.
Doing double weapons. Shreemit could work as well.
Exactly.
BattleBots.
Yep, we're basically just making them free money here. This is great.
Dude, go watch Mike's video about 5 things you could make BattleBots toys of, or media of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's good stuff. As for Endgame, I mean, there's not much more to say. They are the champions. I fully expect them to do very well again.
Big old target on their back now, though.
Yes, I'll see how they deal with the pressure. It's going to be interesting. They kind of had a rough season in 2019, didn't they? And they kind of they slipped. They didn't slip through 2020. They had some really good opponents, but
of course, at this point, if you're a BattleBot supporter and you know it, clap your hands. You know who's fighting Endgame first. I'm not going to say, but become a BattleBot supporter and you'll know.
There you go. Easy little plug there as well for more money for BattleBots.
Greg, I'm all yours.
Moving on from Endgame, we have free shipping.
Yes, my $5.
For those that don't know, Jevan has actually got his name somewhere on free shipping. If you spot it, DM him. There you go. Free shipping is wonderful, and Gary Jin is back, and it's going to spout all the fire. It's a much more refined lifter version of this robot, and it's great, and I'm so happy. I'm not going to predict it to win this time, shockingly.
I think it's going to do better, though. I'd be happy if it made the tournament. Round of 32.
Yes, definitely.
That's going to be their aim, surely.
Yeah. They've moved the flamethrowers so they're no longer quite as exposed. They've not got the big boxes on the top anymore either, which is good because it makes it look more like it was meant to originally, I feel.
Yeah, it's a lot more sleek and refined,
yeah.
isn't it?
It's a really nice build, and, even if the weapon's away, it is Original Sin, and as we know, that is a very competent robot.
It's a serial winner, yeah.
He's definitely gone the more Original Sin route. If you say that Whoops and Duck have kind of gotten farther apart, Original Sin and free shipping have kind of gotten closer together.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at 2018 free shipping and this,
yeah.
and you're like,
no,
these are two different robots,
but the thing is, okay,
that was a meme though, honestly. That whole robot was
the thing is, that's my favourite version of free shipping. It was wonderful.
Yeah,
it had that stupid, forklift setup on the front. It was great, and then it got ripped off by Walk. It's like flinging it about.
Wonderful.
It's great. I'm just glad free shipping's back because it's never a dull fight. So
yeah, no, never.
We'll see how that gets on.
I hadn't realised how much of an all-stars team this is, because there's they've got what is it? Raging Scotsman team as part of the free shipping team as well as Original Sin team.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. It was on another plug forum, Team Scorpios.
There you go.
Did a video around Halloween time showing it off, and they were talking. They had out Raging Scotsman doing some flamethrower testing.
Oh, wonderful!
It was great fun.
Which makes sense now you think about it, because obviously they're both very similar styles of robot, and I don't think Original Sin had the flamethrowers, did it?
No.
Whereas Raging Scotsman did, and now they've kind of put it together.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have we've just gone past Bonfire Night as we're recording this. We have our little fireworks box itself, Fusion.
Yeah,
as Steve very nicely put it last season.
One of my favorite, man. It's one of my favorites.
It looks great, doesn't it? It looks great again.
It's so silly. It's so much fun packed into a small package.
It is tiny as well. Like when Reese Hewitt stands next to it, it's ridiculous because I don't think he's a particularly small person.
Even then,
it's David and Goliath really. So this thing is just cool, but hopefully it will work better than it did last year.
Well, it was their first season with this robot, and obviously, it got 2 wins in the end, and again, and a pretty unfortunate tournament draw against a eventual top 4 in Tantrum. And obviously did okay. It beat Aegis, I suppose, in the Bounty Hunters, but
this is my thing.
I think a light breeze could have beaten Aegis, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The only robots that it beat
in
last season were low tier bots.
Aegis,
right.
War Easy, and who was the other one? I can't remember.
They beat.
Was it Rampage?
It was Rampage in Bounty.
The
they beat Aegis in main tournament.
That's it. Okay, so there you go. You get the idea, don't you? Like the 3 teams that it beat weren't the most.
They were all first time bots.
Yeah,
first time teams. In fact, in Robot Combat for some of them.
Yeah. Fusion's interesting though. Like again, it's very difficult to fight because you don't really know what they're going to lead with. Like you can armor up with a big horizontal plow, and then they'll just use the vert, and you can stick the forks on, then they'll just run the horizontal. It's very difficult to plan for. I think that if they can keep the reliability going well, because I think they said post season there was an error with their ESCs when they got them in the first place. There was a manufacturing fault which they eventually got. I think they got compensation for. I can't remember exactly.
Interesting.
But if they can keep that reliability under control and learn to dissipate heat a little bit better with this particular robot,
and
not just all at once.
Are you saying this thing needs to just be a heatsink on wheels?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pete Abrams said pretty much the same thing, didn't he?
See, this is the thing. For last season, I feel that all of the time and a lot of time, effort, resources, and everything went into Hydra and getting that to tournament winning standards.
Sure, that's become the team's focus. Honestly, you would have to think so.
I really hope now they've got Hydra to that level. It doesn't appear that we'll come on to Hydra in a bit. It doesn't appear they've done much to it for this season, and they have done quite a lot for Fusion. I hope.
Yes.
That Fusion has been their main focus going into this season.
Yep. Absolutely. moving on from Fusion, we have the returning Ghost Raptor.
Ow. Ow. My eyes.
Am I doing it?
It hurts to look at.
Okay, so for the record here, we weren't the biggest fans of Ghost Raptor's look entirely last year, and to be fair, by the sounds of things, Chuck and the team weren't either, because they went out of their way and they brought in, I can't remember her name, but they brought in is it a fashion expert or like a style guru of some description?
Style guru, let's go with that.
That sounds good, doesn't it? I like the sound of that. And to kind of give a fresh look and a bit of modernisation to Ghost Raptor's look, because they themselves said, they were out of the sport for a good few years and they came back in and got their asses handed to them. They were the first to admit, the sport's gone further than we expected.
Yeah.
This season, I kind of expected them to kind of thought, well, actually, okay, we've learnt our lessons. Let's see how we can get on with a bit more planning time. We've got the robot ready to go. There's some elements of this robot where I think, actually, do you know what? It's better than what it looked last year.
It's not hard to do.
But there's also others where I'm like, huh? Like, did you learn anything? Like, it's very frustrating because we've seen in the past how good Ghost Raptor can be. And
yes.
I mean, last season it struggled. Yes, it beat Deadlift, but Deadlift was winning the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember.
It outlived Deadlift.
Yeah,
it beat Chomp, I believe, in a very long, drawn-out fight that got cut from the main show.
Yep, It got split in half by Jackpot.
That was good fun.
And Shatter donked it on the head, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, blew up both of its ESCs.
Yep, it very much caught fire.
Yeah.
Which gave use to all those holes because it kind of made it.
Yeah, a little bit of
out,
Yeah, a little bit of.
I feel that Ghost Raptor would be far, far better if it had more just substance to its main chassis. Sort of, if it had some bodywork over the bits where it sort of comes round the corner to the wheels, because the wheel pods feel very much detached from the main robot. And in some fights we saw last year, they were detached from the main robot.
Yeah.
If there was more substance to the armor package there, then maybe that wouldn't have happened. I like the sort of talons, the lifting forks that they've got there.
I do as well.
Cool. They're sort of very custom knife and looks very cool. I like the paintwork. The design person has done very well to get it to look.
I like the logo
better.
I like
the logo looks very good as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It just. But the thing is, the beautiful logo just makes me wish that we had Predator.
Honestly, I'm like that's where I'm gonna go. I really wish we had an evolution of his Raptor robots, and like the ones of old, like the lifter ones, like the lifter. Like imagine a lifter control bot. Like I know it's so hard to not put a kinetic energy weapon on your robot, and I feel like if
someone like
he
Chuck
went the full control aspect, like it frustrates me. And I don't know.
He did so well in season 1.
Yes,
with the control. Obviously, he didn't have the weapon because it broke.
I know, it broke. Yeah.
My theory is that because BattleBots is a big brand name,
yes,
and each of the robots as part of it are also big brand names. You've got your Bite Force is instantly recognizable as BattleBots.
Yeah,
and
Tombstone.
Since Bite Force went and made their vertical spinner, which they wanted to make originally, they've stuck with that all the way through. I wonder if they have to. So if when Lockjaw changed from the forks to the claws to the vert, now they've stuck with the vert. It's an idea. I don't know if it's definite.
Are they typecasted? Have they become robot typecasted?
Do they have to remain as this sort of articulated horizontal spinner?
I don't know. Without it being a completely new machine, I don't know. I don't know.
Because you can see that the teams that have brought 2 robots this year, they're trying different things out, but with a completely separate entity.
Different IP, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wonder if contractually that is interesting. If contractually they're kind of stuck with a similar looking, a not too far departure from what you had brought before.
Yeah.
I mean,
interesting.
The only real exception I could think of like that is Cobalt, and because neither of those two are alike. But
this is true.
For that.
True.
There's your exception.
Unless there was a new contract written up for Discovery, perhaps, and people tried different things, because there's a lot of bots that changed from season 2 to season 3. So who knows?
I mean, for me, the biggest change to this robot.
Interesting conversation.
And in terms, well, maybe not the robot itself, but the team, Chuck, the Mohawk, mate. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced.
Well, I can't talk because I got fur on my head. So.
Well, yeah.
Let's put it this way, okay, Chuck. Life begins at 40.
Well, all I'm saying is Chuck Fitzer. He ain't no Tim Rackers, is he?
He's not. No, he's no Tim Rackers.
No, I think that's the nicest thing we'll say. We'll move swiftly on from Ghost Raptor because yeah,
that's enough of that.
Oh man.
Well, let's talk a bit about Gigabyte because Gigabyte had a bit of a renaissance, didn't it, in 2020?
Found itself finally.
It really did.
It has been taking names over in China on King of Bots and things, and finally that version has come across to BattleBots and has been taking names over here, and now.
They've really gone to town, haven't they? With a lot of the new shells. This is the one that's in the image at the moment is the kind of the flat-sided shell. We spoke to John about this on the podcast last year. He basically said, he wanted something to kind of withstand. Like he saw what happened with Copperhead in the Bounty Hunters and against particularly Rusty as the robot that he kind of highlighted, and said when Rusty was just facing it front on with the big armor panel, there was nothing it could do to take damage from Copperhead. Points. Yeah, so John went away and thought, okay, how can I implement that on my full body spinner? And he's done that.
It looks really good.
It does.
I really like this. I also like the new self-writer bar.
I do too. It looks like
Sturdy.
This is what we should have done. Honestly, it's almost like that's the design you should go for because it's not bending and having to deal with welds and all that stuff. It's just, all right, collar, pull, done.
Bolt it in. Yeah, bolt it in, job done.
Easily replaceable.
Yeah. Of course, it won a bounty last season, beating Son of Waiachi in some impressive style. I do wonder if the absence of Matt Maxim will hurt them a little bit. Obviously, I know they've got a substantial team, and obviously they're going to work together because, of course, they're all part of the same umbrella at this point. With
been in these pits, man. Everyone helps everybody.
Exactly, of course. But I not to take anything away from John and his existing team, but I feel like the Matt Maxim effect last season, we spoke to, again, I'm going to bring it up again, Pete Abramson kind of alluded to the fact that Matt, the way that he is just so diligent with every single, strip down and repair every single time, and the way that he is prepared to put the hours in to make sure that he does win fights and, make sure that the robot is in the best possible condition it can be. I hope that has rubbed off onto the team.
Yes, I would hope so too.
And I'm sure it has done, and, John's not an idiot, let's face it. He's won competitions over and over again throughout the years, but we'll see. Gigabyte, again, a target is on Gigabyte's back now because they've come back and they've did really well last season. So
this particular machine's knocking on the door for me to win, honestly.
Really?
I would agree. I would agree. It's up there.
I really think it's there. I think it found itself last year and it's only going to keep going.
Interesting.
I'll keep my thoughts to the end. I'm sure. Are we going to give predictions on who we're going to?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I may have just played my hand, but I have other ideas.
Okay. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Let's move on from Gigabyte and to a brand new team in Glitch.
Oh my god, dude! I want to gush about this thing.
Omnidrive.
Oh man.
Omnidrive Egg Beater, but for me. It has a very striking resemblance to Valkyrie. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it's vertical Valkyrie, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got more. It's got more air. It
does. Yeah, it does.
But
it's pretty.
Oh, it's so cool. I love the way that this one looks. This is another one that, like, if Hexbot could make a toy, I'm serious. Like, this thing looks really sweet, man. It's a
first time entry as well. Like,
yeah, I love its art style. I love the fact that it's got a huge chunky weapon. I'll be interested to see how well that contacts. Because they have to get underneath things with that.
There
point.
is a redacted photo online out to the general public showing it twatting something into the air.
I'm very excited.
We will have to see how that gets on.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting concept as well. As I said, it's got the Omni wheels similar to Shatter. There's a lot going on, and especially for a first-time team, I feel like it's a very ambitious first entry. And credit to the team.
It just makes me happy.
Yeah.
I do worry that if it's turned upside down, that is it.
I think. Well,
it's got little rollers on the top. It's got the bunny ears.
I don't think they're going to touch the floor with the spinner in the way. But I don't think the wheels are going to make. I don't think the angles are quite right for it to work upside down.
We'll see. We'll see. It's an interesting robot nonetheless, and it's exciting. They haven't just got out of their way to build something that very simple. Okay, this is no shade at Dragon Slayer, but Dragon Slayer to me seems a lot more basic in terms of its design and what it is compared to Glitch, because Glitch is clearly a very different process that they've gone down. They've kind of looked at it and said, okay, we could do this, but we could also be a bit fancy. Run the Omni wheels and run the egg beater and have it look a bit artsy.
And that's what BattleBots is looking for. They're looking for, like, in their white paper, or in their say you want to join BattleBots, their deal, it needs to, the silhouette needs to look good. So if I black this robot out, you would still know that that's Glitch. So it's very well. I like the theme. We'll see how effective it is.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, very true. Very true indeed. We move on to Gruff, which you say
literally my home team. Literally my home team.
Go and see them, Steve. Go and say hi.
I probably could knock on his door.
Bring the laptop with you. Let's go. Oh, actually, no, they're in Orlando at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are. I would imagine Sam's over there. Yes.
I mean, we say blacked out robots. This year it looks very like Vanta Black. The matte kind of coloring of. It looks wonderful, doesn't it? And it's again, it's another evolution of last season where they struggled a little bit.
They did.
They didn't seem to fix anything last year. That's the thing that annoyed me most. It looked broken for the majority of the fights that they were in.
I wonder if it was a supply issue, because obviously we know that the season got delayed, and they may have had issues producing parts because that was a legitimate issue that people were having. Not being able to get as much workshop time as they would have done normally, and they've come back with Gruff again, looking a little bit more robust. I mean, I don't know how much more robust they could possibly get, but
it's an AR4. It's an AR brick. 400,
really
500,
is.
600. Who knows? I don't know. It's adamantium, honestly.
Oh, Ray seemed to think they had their own special formula, didn't they?
Their own brand, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
So, their own alloy.
It's exciting. It's an exciting robot. Like, again, when Gruff's in the arena, you tend to get good fights. We've seen that ad nauseum, really.
Is their formula ARD or ARD?
Yeah, very good.
Well, ARD.
Very good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad about that.
Yeah. Are you proud of yourself, Jevan?
No. Let's move on quickly before.
Okay. I mean, Gruff largely similar to last season.
Yeah,
it's got a few tweaks. I mean, the profiling of the front's a bit different with the wedgelets now, which is very much more in keeping. They've got the angled wedgelets as well.
I will also say, wouldn't it make a good toy?
Wouldn't it just?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With all the lovely LEDs, and you could have them flashing in sequence.
It'd be great, wouldn't it? Or maybe like you have like strips that like go in front of it, like into like they'd light up in like a row sort of thing.
To make it look like there's fire coming out. I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that'd be really cool.
Have some little plastic streamers with a little fan and just go.
What was it? Oh shoot, we just had the Gigabyte team up. They had one of those like torches, like when you turn it on, it goes like.
Yeah.
Go to battlebots.com and go look at the picture, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh yes. Now,
this is one of the robots that like I wish I'd gone to Orlando to see, because it's over there right now. Or the team is over there right now. I don't know if they brought the robot. I would hope they would have brought the robot to show it off. But man, HiJinx.
It's a lot more chunky this year. I don't know if or a little bit shorter. I feel like it's smaller. But
I feel like the head is bigger or the legs are shorter. Something proportionally has changed here.
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I mean, I love the color scheme last season, the way that it looked. Mm-hmm. We spoke to Jen last year as well, and she kind of gave us her thoughts on what ways that she could improve HiJinx, and obviously they've gone away and done that.
Yeah,
it just looks a lot more solid. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like last season, it looked quite flimsy, and I always thought, if something catches it not quite right, it's going to be problematic for them. And this time, I look at it and I think, this just seems a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
It's been taken to the next levels, HiJinx this time.
I can't remember what they've done to their weapon system to stop it from bending as it did, but they've done something. You better believe they've done something.
I don't know what, but they've done something.
Yeah, I can't remember. I read about it, I'm sure, but it has been a long time.
Yeah, go follow them on social media.
Yeah,
they
got
share all kinds of things.
I've got a bar pin badge on the red jacket now.
Very nice.
Good fun.
Very nice indeed. HiJinx is just an exciting robot, isn't it? Again, the
an
colours.
Absolute hoot.
Yeah.
Jesus
I was
Christ.
waiting for it. There was an owl pun just kind of waiting in the wings, and there it was.
Oh, there's another one. Wings.
I hate so much.
You could almost call us both Twit.
In any case,
so, I mean, there's not really much more to say about HiJinx. It's very similar to last season,
very much.
But it's well, there's at least the same kind of concept and DNA, but they've clearly gone away and worked very hard at refining it and making it a little bit more sturdy, which I think it needed.
Yeah.
It certainly gave out the hits last year, but it maybe lacked a little bit of, robustness. I mean, notwithstanding the uppercut fight, because there wasn't much you could really do about that.
No,
it does have knockout potential though.
The
Claw Viper fight, they were having motor issues, I believe. So once they got them sorted, I just need to. I think version 2, they've managed to get some things fixed. They've reinforced stuff. As you said, the rear wedge, the spinner itself. It's gonna do very nicely, I think.
And considering they can't fly out of the arena anymore the way that they did before, because that area is closed off, hey.
Yep, you never know.
They got round of 32 placement last year, didn't they? So
they did. They lost to Uppercut, which again, Uppercut was exceptional.
Spectacular.
So, yeah, no disgrace there. Moving on, we have
It's got it's got quite the rump, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's got a bit of a growth at the back.
It's hard to see in this picture.
The dump truck ass of Huge is something. There is a reason for that. So for those that don't know, Huge last season, I believe, switched over to brushless in 2020. Had a lot of issues with that. Obviously, I've speak to my good friend Rory Mangles. He helped them out quite a lot with their issues, or at least tried to as best he could. But ultimately, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I want to say there was either 4 or 2 motors powering the weapon, and they were just struggling for that spin up speed, and hence they I don't think they ever ran it at full speed last year.
No,
because it took so long to spin up.
That was showing in some of their fights. It was
It was their most struggling season, wasn't it, last time? The drive was excellent, I thought. It's so much quicker than it was, especially in season, the 2018 season. But this time around, they've got an extra couple of motors in there, and they've apparently it's been geared up to 250 miles an hour again, and it gets there a lot quicker. And
also, for the first time ever, they've not hand cut the wheels; they are laser cut.
It's very exciting as well. One thing that I'm intrigued with Huge is the potential of the shelf.
Yes.
Because
I could see that.
I could see Huge climbing up there, spinning up to full speed, driving off one of the sides, the other side where their opponent isn't.
Using it as like a safe area.
Yeah.
To get spun up.
I can't think of any other robots that could do what Huge could do and just climb up there.
Wow.
I think that'd be fascinating if they could utilize that effectively, because I mean, why couldn't they? There's no rules against them. You can put an opponent up there, but there's no rules against you yourself getting up there and using it to your own advantage.
Often the Roboteers are fighting against their robot, so
yeah,
still the opponent.
Yeah. So there you go. What do we think? Has Huge got a secret weapon that maybe nobody else has in the entire field?
I think the only thing that will prevent that is if they then get stuck coming back down.
But they've got massive wheels. They're fine.
Yeah.
Maybe if the turning circle in those 2 corners where the shelf is, I don't know how much room there is there for Huge.
Yeah, true enough. But I'm sure they'll figure something out. One thing that's also interesting to me, obviously, it's a big moment for the team itself. Their leggy has gone now, hasn't it? It got cut off by Malice last time. They used the same leg from version 1 of Huge all the way up to 2020.
Well, I believe the new one is better implemented into the design now as well. It's less of an afterthought and more inbuilt.
Yeah. The one thing with Huge is even with its weapon power, it's not a knockout machine. It tends to just last the full 3 minutes.
It hasn't been before. I believe the reason why they've changed the weapon setup the way they have done is to correct that.
Yeah, because
which makes sense.
They try to avoid going to the judges because
there's smaller weight class ones don't go to the judges very often.
No, they don't.
Correct. Absolutely.
Fingers crossed for them.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be better than last year.
Yeah.
I want to see Jonathan smile.
Yes.
Please.
Yes. Well,
speaking of making him smile,
not. One of their opponents last year, Hydra, of course, the number 1 ranked machine.
Yeah.
If we remember correctly, they went to they won 3 fights out of 3. They beat, of course, the very impressive Uppercut to get that 1 ranking. A very, very refined machine, and of course, I don't know how much have changed externally. It looks largely the same. Paintwork, amazing again as ever, but internally, I'm sure they must have tweaked a few things to make it even better than it was before.
Yeah, I hadn't realised that they were water cooled. which makes sense for the name Hydra, I suppose.
Well, I thought the Hydra was just hydraulic.
Yeah, but no, because it's hydration as well. It's water cooling inside the robot.
Interesting, like a PC.
Yeah.
Not my PC. I've got fan, but you know.
I'm a fan too.
You've got a laptop, Jevan.
No, but I'm a fan.
Too. Oh, okay.
I mean, we're all fans at the end of the day, honestly.
I think we were a bit harsh on Hydra last year. I think the particularly the fight against Huge. The shithousery is how we described it.
I don't.
No,
I think you play the heel, you face the consequences.
Oh, of course. And don't get me wrong.
The whole play stupid games, win stupid prizes kind of argument.
Okay. But I did it. I look back now and I'm like, oh, do you know what? That was really fun. That was like, I like him. I like, It's
fun if you're a sadist, I guess.
I like JQ at being a dick and just annoying people and winning the underground war,
Having seen him in the Bounty Hunters episode, he is definitely the most personable Ewart in the whole clan, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's the only one I've ever seen smile, which I really appreciate. And I also have come round on Jake Ewart. He is really quite a nice person. He just did what he had to do to win, which is a shame, but it was effective, it worked, and there was no rules against it, technically speaking. It's like the loophole of the using a net in the 2015 fight between Ghost Raptor and Complete Control. There was nothing in the rules to stop
cage.
that.
Yep, tornado cage, anything like that.
You'll see it happen. It does happen, and he's the one who will do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is good fun. And
he's always having fun there. He always looks like he's having a great time.
Hydra is one of these robots that is at the very top of his game, and I would really love it if, in the season where Utas have been outlawed and all of the areas have been shut off, and there's this shelf thing, that a flipper wins, because it's really, really put against the sort of flippers and control bots this season.
I mean, for me, like looking, we mentioned, Jake, obviously, he's gone around. He talks a big game, but the thing is, he actually delivers it as well.
He does.
That's like, you need to have a robot to back that up, and if you want to play the bad guy, like Ray has in the past, or maybe reluctantly a bit more, but he has done. If you've got a robot that can back it up, then you are almost given liberty to do so. And hence, Jake has, and Hydra is wonderful, and it's
the team claim. They went out last season because they had some minor difficulties or something broke, or I don't know.
There was a crack in their system, wasn't there? There was a crack in one of their cylinders, I want to say, and
so they said that Whiplash wasn't fighting at 100% Hydra.
Well, they did end up back in, didn't they? If we're to believe what Matt Vasquez tells us about the final and how Black Dragon nearly didn't make it in and Ribbot nearly didn't make it in, so Hydra's getting ready to fight again just in case. Imagine that, they lost to Whiplash and then they beat them again.
That would be a first, where in the tournament bracket they're brought back in.
And they lost, and then they beat them the second time. That'd have been something.
That'd have been nuts.
I can see this being a toy as well, because
I'd love it.
Honest.
Oh, yeah.
It's been ages since we've had a good flipper toy.
We haven't had a Waiachi toy ever, which amazes me.
Yeah. We were well overdue a Son of Waiachi, but never came.
I seem to recall an RC Son of Waiachi at some point.
Yeah, there was one back in classic BattleBots, way back when. It went alongside some of the other robots at the time, sort of Minion and the super heavyweight sort of thing. Had several. I think there was there an El Diablo? Possibly.
Yeah, there was an El Diablo, there was a Blendo, there was a Dr. Inferno, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's an old video. I'm gonna dig into it. There's an old video on the Coleslaw and the Barangoat where they have a fight with a whole bunch of those RC robots. So you can check that out and see whether I'm just sending people everywhere. Stay here and listen, please.
And then go and check out all these amazing other people.
Are you back? Good.
Yeah. Let's move on from Hydra to Jevan's favourite robot and Bay, Hypershock. Now, before we talk about Hypershock, I just want to say a massive congratulations to Will Bales and his now wife.
Yay!
Jevan, I know you're heartbroken and devastated that he's not yours, but
no. What me and Will have, it's special, but it's not. It's not that.
It goes beyond words, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Many hearty congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Bales. Hypershock this season is looking fresh. It's looking
Can I talk about it? Because I know a lot about this machine.
Go on, take us away, Jevan.
So, things that have changed. It is longer this season.
The long wheelbase, yeah.
Yeah. That's
noticeable in the picture too.
Yeah,
honestly.
They're hoping that will help them in just forward momentum, which is always what they've been good at.
That's kind of important for a robot anyway.
Yeah.
So
they've removed the Shremek completely. There's no self-righter on it anymore. They're going to be relying on upside-down drivability. So hopefully they've practiced that. I'm saying this remembering that they built it on site again, so never mind. But they have no Shremek this year.
They're probably building it right now over in Orlando, I'll be honest with you.
There's less to go wrong with it, which is the main thing. They won't have to divert all their time for fixing this and fixing this and fixing this.
Mm-hmm.
Their Shremek is no longer a factor, so they don't have to worry about it. They have the big plow, as you can see in this picture. They also have brought back for this season the forks from 2018. They've redesigned them and attached them, which is very cool to see as well. I have high hopes for Hypershock this season.
But you have them every year, Jevan.
Yeah, I know, but what you have to remember is, on the odd-numbered years, I think... No, that's not it. It's every other season.
They have
a good one. So, 2015, not so great. 2016, good.
Better, yeah.
The Rakening.
2018, awful. 2019, brilliant. 2020, unreliable, had lots of issues before they got there. 2021, it's time for another good season of Hypershock.
Another sports reference. It's like the Philadelphia Flyers. They make the playoffs every other year. And it's whatever. I know that because I used to live up there, so it's just kind of like whatever.
Sure thing. Go sports.
I mean, to be honest with you, the thing I'm most excited about with Hypershock is the gold.
It is very nice. Though it does have me... That's the only bit that has me a tad concerned, because notoriously, when another robot went gold, having been yellow for the longest time, it really didn't work out for them.
Kim.
Kim. Wonderful panic attack.
Was not 24 karat magic for him at all.
No.
But you know what? Okay, Hypershock is what it is. It's a known quantity. We know what it is. We know what Will and the rest of his team bring to the table. It's a fast, aggressive, hyperactive machine that we love. Regardless of how it performs, he will drive the wheels off it and see what he's got. Yeah. He will drive what he has available to him, and he'll be very good at it. It's just depending on how finished this robot is when they turn up. And, they
won't have had the issues of 2020 because obviously Will was stuck abroad, then they lost the box didn't make it to the place on time, so they were building it right up till their first fight.
And you can tell.
Yeah. It
As
really
he
showed
collapsed on the floor.
Yeah. His teammate went to hospital instead of to BattleBots because he broke a leg or something like that.
It was something like that, yeah. And he was the guy building the Shremek, wasn't it? And then obviously that never happened. So
so there was loads that went wrong for them before the season. This season, it looked like it was smooth sailing up until the competition, and then I don't know any further. So, fingers crossed. Maybe it's their year. It's their year. I'm going to say it. It's their year. They're going to win it.
You go full. It's coming home, Jevan.
It's coming.
Well, we know what happened.
I'm not making the same mistake again.
We know what happened last time, Jevan.
Yeah, Steve's not allowed to even mention this robot's name this season.
Nope. Everything I touch
dies. So unfortunately, Gigabyte.
Sorry, John.
Let's move on from Hypershock.
Here's the thing: it's already happened, so I guess it can't be. I can't have done anything.
Oh, this is very true. This is true. Yeah.
Once I have retroactive powers, I'm sorry.
We'll never know.
I don't want to move on from Hypershock. It just looks so nice.
Jevan, we'll move on to a Hypershock sponsored robot then. How about that?
Fine.
Yeah, that also looks nice.
ICEWave is back. We saw it had a little cameo in the 2020 season in the Bounty Hunters.
It didn't go too well for them, as memory serves. No.
To be fair, it was their one fight with that version of the robot, and it was against at that point, it was a well-worn Scorpios at that point, but it was a very well-dialed-in Scorpios, and Scorpios had been doing incredibly well that season, obviously beat Tombstone, controversy notwithstanding, it still won. It's a cracking little thing, and ICEWave is just it's a joy to listen to in the arena, not just watch. It's a visual and auditory feast for the senses, and I love it. I love it, and I'm glad that it's back. Will it win? I don't think so. I think this maybe it's time's past. Regardless, I'm glad it's back.
Yeah. Now it'll do really well.
Oh yeah,
Because
guaranteed.
Because we've said its time has passed.
100%. It's a guarantee. Almost a guarantee. Yeah, it's almost a guarantee. Put all your money on ICEWave to win. I like the subtle, blue detailing. Obviously, its heritage is blue design in general.
Yeah. Well, at least the BattleBots version, the one back in many moons ago, was like black and white, and I remember green. I don't know.
I do like the different shades of black that they've gone with on the
Yes.
front end. It's very tasty. It's just a good looking machine, isn't it?
It really is.
And look at the see-through top, man. It's just like unnecessary, but just a nice touch. But I guess,
it's definitely necessary. We've got to look in there. There's a real clear-cut thing of people who are proud of what's under the hood, and
for sure.
this team are proud of what's under the hood. They don't mind you seeing what's in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It'd be nice if there was like a clear panel on the engine, just one, just so you could have a little look inside and see what's going on.
That would be great.
Kind of like how Rapid did when they changed it in Series 10. Like that was just a nice little touch. But ICEWave, it's back, and it's like it's not BattleBots without them. We missed them for the last couple. Weren't in 2019, were they?
No.
So we missed them for a couple of seasons now. Obviously the cameo in in the 2020 season.
Well, he was away having children as well.
He was, yes. He was, and he did go to Vegas as well, didn't he? He did the events.
Yeah, that didn't go well for him either. To be fair, he got
chewed to bits. He got chewed to bits, didn't he? Yeah. Bless. Never mind. Yeah. Never mind. The home team, Jackpot, and suitably dressed as well, which is wonderful. And I love the Jackpot team. They are a wonderful group of people, and this robot has some serious potential. This is a dark horse for the competition. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah, really? Okay.
They've got so many different setups. The way that they worked last year with limited resources and a robot that we put together in 4 weeks to get 3 straight wins, one against a bounty hunter winner.
It's got to be the second fast before BattleBots, because I think Warhawk was 3 weeks, and this one was. It's just incredible how well they did.
The thing is though, with Jackpot, it was 4 weeks from designing it to
as opposed to like throwing it together. There's a difference there, sure.
Yeah.
What do we think, Jevan? You seem very quiet.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. I've been following the progress of this. They have been building since they came back
literally
from
2020.
Basically.
Yeah, literally.
They are well prepared for this season. Obviously, you can see there's some poles sticking out of it. They've got a Shreemec this year, meaning they can get back over easily. And the Shreemec isn't sort of a token thing they can have on in some configurations and not others. It's on there. That's happening.
They also have a one weapon set and the 2 weapon that they had before. They've got the heart.
Yeah, they've got the heart. I can't remember what it's called. It's something like the
bleeding heart.
Yeah, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Single sort of disc solution, and then the double diamonds.
I want to give a big shout out to Shay from that team and her obsession with glitter, because it's definitely spilled over into this robot. It just looks the part, doesn't it?
It's perfect. It's a perfect representation of the city. We're shining lights, and it just and it just looks like it's going to be one of the most fun ones to watch this season, because not only are they the home team, but like they've had time to go back and refine and really learn from that first experience, and it's just I wouldn't be surprised that this makes the bracket and
sure.
creeps in,
absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna
more than just creeps in.
Well, I was gonna say I'm not gonna put too much pressure on them, because obviously I know it's already happened, but just
I understand,
to add to it, like top 8, top 4. Like genuinely, they lost to Rotator last time, a very, very good Rotator, has to be said, who was seeded a lot lower than they should have been. So I don't know. I fancy Jackpot to have a solid season. Now I've put the inevitable kiss of death on them.
Well, they've got the home field advantage too, haven't they?
Exactly. The crowd will be behind them, hopefully. So we'll see how Jackpot gets on.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been brushing up on my French. So,
parlez-vous français?
Pardon mon français.
There we go.
Is that right?
I'm gonna say that's close. My French is really rusty as well.
Allons-y.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That's good. Let's go. Allons-y.
Je m'appelle. Oh, I don't know what
Steve
is in French.
It's
there we
Steve.
go. Good enough.
Yeah,
you just say Steve.
Yeah,
just Steve.
Je m'appelle Sam. Pardon my French, the French-Canadian team. sorry for offending every single French listener and French Canadian listener in the world. I'm
We
very
had those?
sorry. I hope so. It'd be nice if they did. We're not going to have them anymore after that. Yeah, this thing is teeny tiny.
Yeah. Very, very, very tiny.
It's a 3. Okay, it's not a drum. It's a 3 disc.
The team officially call it a Trisk, which I enjoyed deeply. It doesn't fit on my diagram, but yeah, it's a Trisk.
Okay.
3 discs.
Designed by former.
Which means 4 would be a Quisk.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
Although,
what about 5 then?
That's also a
Quinsk.
I don't like that. Let's leave that alone.
So half the team again are missing.
Don't even get me started with 6.
Yeah, let's just leave that right there. The half the team of the part of my French team are actually missing. The 2 missing are Gus Collier and Dave Weston, the live event legend from the UK. Real shame that they didn't get to go over to go and compete, because obviously Gus has had a lot of hand designing this robot, and obviously Dave's just a sound bloke who just knows robots inside and out, and would have been such a great pit support basically for this team. It'd be interesting to see how they got on without the 2 of them, but obviously, of course, I'm sure they'd have some inputs in helping them out while they're there. Apparently, they had a lot of problems in terms of getting the robot to BattleBots. I believe the shipping was
they did a Hypershock.
They also did a Hypershock and a Predator all in one, where the crate got lost. I don't know how you managed to lose a crate with a 250-pound fighting robot in it and spares, but
they got it back in time though. It was there before filming, which is the main thing.
Exactly, and it got hopefully we'll see it fight its way through. So it's a very interesting little robot, I say, and it is just I can't stress this enough. It is teeny tiny.
Yeah,
which I think is going to be interesting for its. I mean, I'll let you go, Jevan, but go ahead.
I was going to say, it comes to a lot when your mini-bot is actually almost the same size as your main robot.
Yeah, it's going to get shunted around, though, man. It's going to have the Gemini syndrome, I think, honestly, where it just, it just doesn't have the... Zootolor, yeah. I just see this thing getting flipped. This makes me think of Tracer last year, where it didn't have that. It just wasn't fully there yet.
Well, also on that, it doesn't seem to have a solution for when you get flipped over.
That's exactly where I'm going with this. That's my worry. So
we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, okay, definitely.
Let's hope we don't say au revoir to them too early, shall we?
It's lovely French, Sam.
Thank you. Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
Now how's your German?
Do you know what? My German's actually better than my French. I took German at school. So, hallo, Jager. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jager.
Jager.
Well, it's the umlaut. It's over the A, so it's more of an ah sound than an A sound. Jager. Ralph from the Jager team. You may know him from BattleBots. He competed with Phoenix.
Lovely robot. Beautiful
little robot. Has come in. Well, not just him. It was meant to be himself. Andy. Okay, I'm gonna misremember his name now, and I feel really bad because I saw him recently. Andy from
Russell.
It was Andy Russell. That's the guy. Yeah, Andy Russell from Hobgoblin and other projects aside. He's built a Beetleweight robot called Ion, which is also very beautiful. Telekinesis is his featherweight, which is obviously what the green Jaeger is based off. And the third
dangerous robot.
Very dangerous. The third one was built. Well, there was meant to be a third robot here. Built by Cosmin Gorgovan, who is an absolute legend in the smaller weight classes.
Daedalus fame in Beetleweight, in BattleBots even.
X301, X303.
Yeah.
Incredibly talented engineer and builder of robots, and sadly, neither Andy nor Cosmin were able to travel to BattleBots. And understandably, the drum. I want to say there was a reason why it wasn't used. I want to say just due to the fact that they weren't able to go. They just didn't. They said, "Oh, they're just not going to use it."
Yeah,
which I completely understand. It's kind of similar to Monsoon saying, "Okay, someone else could use our robot." Well, it's not the same thing, is it?
This is the thing with Jaeger, that it was only ever going to be 2 of these robots in at a time. They could swap and change between their setups because they'd be too heavy otherwise. They're middleweight size.
Yeah.
But the 2 that they've got, they're pretty nice.
Very potent. You've got the overhead, hammer saw style of robot with which is I believe Ralph's. And then obviously the middleweight horizontal spinner, very similar to Andy's telekinesis.
Now, who will be driving Andy's telekinesis style Jagerbot?
Well, if we go all the way back to our very first robot and Emmanuel Carrillo, we have with Emmanuel Carrillo from Big Dill, who will be piloting the other Jaeger machine, and I believe I want to say Craig Danby had some assistance in putting them together in the pits as well. So massive credit to those two guys for taking time out of their own machines to help them out, basically, and give them a helping hand and in trying circumstances, because obviously Ralph traveling over there by himself. We were meant to have two teammates, ended up with none, and he couldn't drive two robots at once because that's very difficult to do. So, yeah, an interesting robot Jaeger, and it's interesting to see that they've got two styles of weapon. Okay, should have been three, but the two that we've got are very interesting, and best of luck to him, because hopefully he'll be able to pull something together.
Yeah, it's good to have German representation in the sport, because
really,
has it been since back with Black Hole that we really have had a big face on a big show,
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting to see how Jaeger do, but given the difficulties that they had, in preparation, maybe don't expect the world, but follow with interest, I'd say. Maybe in a couple of years we'll be able to see them, come back and develop a little bit more than we'll be able to see them this year.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we have one of our personal favourites on the RoboCast. It is the return of Kraken. Every year, it comes back and it surprises us by just being better than it was last year. Like the first year we saw it, we kind of thought it's an art bot. We're not expecting.
Go
much
back
from
and
it.
watch 2018. I've been watching some 2018 BattleBots and some Kraken fights. Never in a million years do I think that it would have been as competitive as it is now.
I mean, the fact that it beat Witch Doctor last season,
and should maybe have beat Black Dragon as well.
There's an argument, yeah. There's an argument. Obviously, ended up in the end losing to SawBlaze. Again, no disgrace there.
Not at all.
They still managed to drive around the arena with one wheel.
Yeah. Matt, I'm sure Matt's at Orlando Maker Fair right now as well, but he just the way that he's piloted this machine to a level which I don't think any of us ever expected. He's got famous wins against Ribbot as well. He did so well against Ribbot. It's just it's a cracking robot.
Hey.
There it is. And every year it comes back and it's just slightly better. It's just small things each year. And I don't doubt it'll be the same this year.
And then the Narwhal is back again.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say the Narwhal's kind of eked its way into everybody's hearts.
Exactly.
Always.
Absolutely.
And also some people's houses, because it was available on the Kraken store. So.
It was.
There you go.
more plugging for everyone else.
The one thing with Kraken, and this is another gripe that I have with some bots, it's judges' decisions. And this can be its downfall, where it doesn't have that knockout potential. It's very good in its fights, but of course, when you get to the scorecards,
it doesn't have the damage points.
Right? Yeah, there's no entertainment category.
No.
Style went a long time
ago. If there
ago.
was, then Kraken would be right up there every single fight, wouldn't it? But we'll see. I mean, the change in judging criteria may have assisted it.
Yeah, perhaps.
We'll have to wait and see how the season goes for them.
I really want to see it bite into something, though. I mean, have things gotten too hard that it just can't sink those teeth in?
Once again, they've upped the amount of pressure, so they are one of the most powerful crushers in the world now.
Yeah, it's them and Quantum who are right up there, isn't it? Really, so
yeah.
Game on.
Moving on, we have the legend that is Donald Hudson and his robot Lockjaw. Of course, we had a great time chatting to that team prior to the 2021 filming happening, and of course, bringing back a robot which really turned the corner towards the end of last season. Struggled quite a lot early on. Struggled to get past Shrederator. It did beat Big Dill, yes, but again, smoking a few motors along the way. Lost to Jackpot, which was a bit of a shock, and then Shatter beat it, which nobody really kind of gave Shatter a hope in hell, but proved us all wrong. Lockjaw won its bounty, beat Beta fairly convincingly. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
What's going to take them over to that next edge? And what's going to get Donald a chance to lift a giant nut again? Because all the ingredients see him there now.
Well, he was suffering a lot from issues with. He went brushless last season.
He was one of those teams as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was struggling to get it sort of dialed in, and I think Bounty Hunters really shows that it was at that point dialed in, because it dominated that field. It was superb. So I think we've got big things coming from Lockjaw this season. They've not changed too much this time round by the looks of things. So, this could be Lockjaw's year. Fingers crossed. Another giant nut on the wall for Donald.
We've seen them all. We've seen them all there.
Yeah,
we did. And a sneaky dissector in the background holding a table up.
I
didn't notice.
I was so glad that you got to do that one, Steve. That was like the top one for you, wasn't it?
It's got to be a highlight of the year for me. Honest. Wow. If not a highlight ever since the show came back, because it's one of those things you grow up watching the show. It's like you being able to speak to it's like you being able to speak to John Reed in person. You know what I mean? Sure. It's this culmination of watching and kind of not idolizing. That seems too on the nose.
Respecting.
Exactly. That's a little bit more where I'm going. Where you finally get a chance to like gush over something that like they have a shared interest in. And it was a perfect day. It was a perfect day, and I'm still grateful that I got to be a part of that.
It was a good time.
I'll have to buy you a beer one of these times whenever I visit. There you go. It's on the record.
I mean, maybe we'll have Donald back maybe this season. Who knows?
We'll
float the question, see if he fancies coming back for a bit more of a chat.
Yeah.
Returning to the competition this season, we have Lucky, which is looking a little bit beefier than the last time we saw it in 2019.
Those wheels look
Brazilian.
Sort of, that was what I was going to say. Very Brazilian. Thick rubber. That's coming off.
Dummy thick. Yeah, dummy thick.
And only 4 wheels instead of 6, unless they can put them on later.
It looks as though they can.
Yeah,
if they want to.
This looks to be one of those frames that they maybe had already had, because they had so many.
I had about 10, didn't they? I
think they had 8 for 2019.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair with Lucky, like we saw a lot of test footage over the off season of them, punting things around, and it looked very potent. And again, we talked about Blip and Hydra being the kings of the flippers. Don't discount Lucky. We have to remember Ziggy won everything in the live circuit. It killed the super heavyweights. So there's a lot of pedigree here. A lot of people kind of think, Lucky's not really hacked it since BattleBots came back, and it hasn't. But they had really horrible opponents.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Don't sleep on Lucky. Really, don't sleep on Lucky. It's
and them skipping a year may have helped them.
Yeah.
Just look at what was working and what wasn't. We'll see. It's a very, very cool robot, and I'm very glad that it's back.
I know they've got different armor configurations for the front. This one's sort of very reminiscent of Tantrum 2019.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Where they kind of folded top bits so they don't get stuck on top.
It's going to be interesting to see what they go with for certain competitors. I think they've got the big, thick front wedge as well.
Of course, they had the 2-wheel setup last time we saw them as well, didn't they? Which is, whether it was
weird.
effective
or not.
It was
very strange.
I get what they were going for, but it was unusual.
Still a strange look.
Yeah. Let's talk about another strange look, shall we? In the form of Mad Catter. A bit of a breakout of the year last time around, wasn't it? It was incredible. This is very unusual as well, in a sense that the whole robot is slightly asymmetrical.
It's very interesting. It's got the vert is off center. It's an interesting thing, and nobody's really done it before. But they've also got the lifter that is then making up this sort of classic dual weaponry style that we haven't seen outside of classic Robot Wars and all that, with the likes of Mortis and Hydra from the classic series. I like it. I like it a lot. They've obviously had the 2 weapon setup previously, but it did feel like the lifter bit was sort of tacked on as an extra feature. This one feels integrated into the design, so long as it doesn't get bent into the path of the spinner. That's a concern, but it really was a potent machine, and they've got lots of different armor packages. This one, I think, designed for Tombstone.
Maybe not
a lot of
Tombstone,
bots seem to have
in general.
Yeah, they seem to have this horseshoe design armor. I've seen a lot of bots now this way, where you have Claw Viper and
Beta as well previously.
Beta, Blip.
Yeah,
they have this kind of horseshoe kind of look where it's slanted to kind of deflect things away. I think that's starting to become more of the meta at this point.
What I want to see from Mad Catter, I feel that their weapon is potent some of the fight, but not all of the fight. It seems to lose something later on.
Well, for me, I think the thing that's going to be most integral this time is, so Calvin, for those that don't know, has the beetle weight in, you see often dominating in Norwalk Havoc, called Eruption. No, Lynx. Eruption's very similar, isn't it?
Lynx.
But Lynx is his. And he said, I mean, there was a lot of posts on the team social media pages where he said that he wanted a robot that controlled like a Beetleweight, and they think that they've got it just so now.
I mean, seeing the drive testing of this thing, it is very manoeuvrable. Very, very manoeuvrable. They had some ramps out, they were doing flips and jumps and things, and he had full control of that. Calvin is an amazing driver. There's
a reason why Lynx wins so often at Norwalk. Let's say that much.
Or at least makes very deep tournament runs.
Correct. We'll see. I mean, Mad Catter is, again, the artwork is beautiful. It's
dynamite. Yeah. I feel like it's always going to be. As long as they keep the one that does the drawings on the team. They'll be around and making it look pretty, and Martin Mason will keep hamming it up, and it'll be wonderful.
Absolutely. It's great. They're a very fun team, and very glad to see them.
I'd love to get Martin Mason on the podcast.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Maybe that's another one for the list of people we would love to speak to this year.
I can imagine him just replying to the message in all caps.
Yes! I'll do it!
I tell you, brother!
Brilliant. Moving on. Well, someone we actually had on the podcast last year, of course, exactly, Steve repping the Malice team this time. Malice looking very similar. There is a bit of...
In some ways.
Well, there is a reason for this. We won't go into it too much, but essentially, I believe... When I spoke to Bunny about it, it was a manufacturing issue that they had. So, unfortunately, they did intend to bring an entirely new Malice. There were lots of CADs.
Longer.
Yeah, there was a lot of CADs of it.
There's a lot of stickers of it as well.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, they had these issues and they weren't able to put it together in the time space that they had. So they said, "Well, we've still got Malice 1, so let's just do that again." And put a little UHMW tail on the back, and it's now not
got a little bunny tail.
There you go. It's all part of the branding. We all knew.
And they seem to have done some work to the drumette.
Well, they've got kind of, it's a barette, if you like. It's a horizontal spinning bar as well, haven't they?
Yes.
Slightly different setup.
It's going to be interesting to see how it does this time round. It was pretty good last time. To be fair.
I mean, for a first time entrant into obviously the team, very experienced. Bunny's
all the Davids.
All the Davids are very experienced. Obviously Bunny as well has been on, I think, 3 other teams in the past.
Shatter. She's got her own Beetleweight.
Yeah, they all know what they're doing. They're not a a gimmicky team by any stretch of the imagination. I do wonder if standing still when everyone else has moved forward is going to affect them quite a lot. But again, that may be something outside of their control, and we'll see.
I was going to say,
more next year. So let's say.
Definitely
interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. High hopes, always high hopes. Speaking of high hopes, holy crap! This thing is this is its glow up year, I guess.
I mean, the glow up came last year, I think, when it beat Copperhead, that famous win. Mammoth, of course, we're talking about.
Yes.
It just looks so. I mean, it still looks very scaffolding. However, it just looks very intentional
now. It's scaffolding with very stable supports, I feel.
Scaffolding with purpose.
Yeah, it's got some big boxes over the motors and everything, holding
big
all that.
Chunky wheels this time as well. Like really thick, go-kart tyres.
Well armoured in front of those boxes as well, by the looks of things. It looks quite
I love the
juicy.
The like HGP or UHMW kind of floppy forks at the front as well, which works really well last time. And, the weapon... particularly in its hero shot that you've got here, very unusual. It's a very intentional, hook on the end, grab in and lift things. It did so well last time at that as well. We saw it. The fight against Shatter, I thought, was one of the fights of the season where it's just flinging Shatter away.
Yeah, and the fight against Huge as well.
It was wonderful. What a
Speaking
wonderful
of Huge,
robot.
Yeah, speaking of Huge, they may have talked with Huge Captain Jonathan Schultz and might have gotten their Tegris manufacturer, because that looks to be what the weapon's made out of. Similar to what Huge's wheels were made out of last year in the Bounty.
A little less floppy than the HDPE, but it's a little bit more rigid, isn't it?
And a little less fragile than the poles, perhaps.
Yeah, yes. It's so intriguing, and Mammoth comes back every season. Okay, this is its 3rd season now. Mm-hmm. But for the first one, it started off quite, subtle. It was a fun little gimmicky robot that turned up and won a fight against Axe backwards, but it didn't set the world alight. Mm-hmm. Last season, I think a lot of people kind of sat up and took notice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing for me is double chains this season.
I was just about to say, because that's the biggest. That's the biggest improvement.
Of course, my good friend and teammate Joe Brown, he put together his Beetlebait version Lobster, which is glorious.
Is so lovely. I think Lobster got me excited for Mammoth this season.
Well, that's the thing. Mammoth. Every time it comes back, it's taken that leap. And I wonder if they could do it again. Like, they did well to get into the top 16 last year. Let's not make any mistakes here.
Mm-hmm.
But could they go further? I mean, strange things have happened. Surely.
I mean,
it's possible.
It would be wonderful to have a robot as out there as Mammoth to go further than it did last year.
Yeah, it'd be quite, like, if they can match what they did last time, I think that would be an incredible achievement by itself with the quality of the field that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Mammoth is an intriguing robot. It's not something you want to fight. Like, it's not something you think, oh, do you know what? I want to fight that thing, because how do you approach it? It's so ungamely.
Strategically, it is a strategical nightmare. I mean, you think like, oh, I'll just smack that thing around. It's it's made out of toothpicks. No, it's a very strange frame.
You got to think about Tombstone's frame. Tombstone's frame was made out of poles as well, and those poles seem to be made out of unobtainium. And Mammoth seems to be made of the same tough stuff, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Huge did take a few chunks out of them, but they still kept going. Nothing fell out, nothing fell apart, and they won that fight.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very durable machine, despite what everybody may say about it.
It's just an unusual and ungamely, wonderful ball of goodness, isn't it? It's great. It's great. Let's move on to the returning other Brazilian team.
Going to Brazil.
We are going to Brazil. Minotaur returns to BattleBots.
Thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, taking a year out, obviously due to the situation with COVID and whatever else, and it looked like for a while they may not be able to come back this season. They did a bit of a crowdfunding drive to make sure that they're I want to say they're funded by a university or something like along those lines, and there were some issues with, like, they lost some of that funding. I can't remember exactly what it was. There's a bit of a thing about it, I think, but Minotaur is back. As we, vaguely remember it, it's a, refined version of the robot we saw last time. Obviously, note the Brazil wheels as well. Obviously, of course it would be, because why wouldn't they be? With
always has been.
Has it?
I don't know.
Possibly.
I'm just saying catchphrases now.
What
I will say is
that's what I do.
the team is slightly different. No Marco Maidonaro this season.
Daniel Freitas as well. He isn't in the hero shot, but I believe he does.
He is in the hero shot.
He is.
He's kneeling down.
Oh, is he?
He is. He's kneeling down. I hadn't seen him until recently.
Well, there was a bit of a thing, because apparently he was there. Then he had to go. I want to say something happened. He had to go back to Brazil. For a funeral or something? Wasn't it?
Family member, unfortunately, passed away, and he was on his way back, and they told him, "No, go back to BattleBots."
Oh, bless him. Minotaur is always spectacular in the arena. We know this. The last time we saw it, though, it bit of a struggle, wasn't it? It had that 2019 season where it really did not get going, and then eventually it got going, and then it still wasn't quite at 100%. Yes, it came second in the Desperado. It didn't even win the Desperado tournament, which surprised quite a lot of people. Struggled against Shatter. Okay, yes, eventually beat it, but it didn't make life easier for itself. Cobalt, okay, fairly convincing against Cobalt, but then and
Death Roll fight, man.
Death Roll absolutely chewed it up, did it? Like, it was Death Roll was on fire that season in general, but like it really didn't.
Yeah, and the Hydra Minotaur fight was over and up twice. So there really wasn't much to talk about there.
I'm intrigued to see how Minotaur deals, having been gone for a couple of years. The competition's moved on. Have they been able to keep up with that? I'm sure they have.
This is the thing for me. But I still prefer the 2016 Minotaur. It's still my favourite version. And if they can bring back that feeling of 2016, I think I'll be happy. Because 2016 just took names and everyone was scared of Minotaur at that point.
Yeah, a lot of people
didn't even make the final that year.
No.
They made the final the next time.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see how Minotaur deal with the competition. Returning as well is Overhaul.
Blast from the past.
Yeah, proper, all-star lineup is coming back here with
the 2018 they last came out.
Yeah.
Yes, first Discovery season, and they've been gone since then. With
the radical change, it's now based off Charles's 30-pounder 30 haul, I think it's called.
Which is based off of his 12-pounder overclocker.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's an interesting design, and it's interesting as well for me that a lot of teams have kind of gone this way in terms of grab and lift robots, and Overhaul was one of the first to do it back in 2015, or at least on TV. There was them and Bite Force that did it at the same time.
Yeah, and Complete Control was back again.
Of course, yeah. With Overhaul though, like it never really quite clicked, especially with the second version. Like it always felt like the claws were a bit too small and they didn't quite have the reach that, say, Bite Force did in the first version, and obviously subsequently, Slabo and others have kind of refined that to a point where they, can get the forks very far in and then flip them over. Whereas you look at Overhaul's forks there, they seem a little bit stumpy, Yeah. I wonder if they'll come back to bite them. I'm sure it won't do. Charles has been working on this robot for a long old time now. So
it's never been a robot that's really done much for me.
Really? I like the blue. Let's be the candy blue is very nice.
Yeah. It is very nice. Blue. It just it hasn't ever really shown me that it's anything more than a lovely little grab and lift robot. Its fights have been somewhat lackluster, I would say, at times. I'm hoping that's something they can change with this new version. I mean, you've got the exposed wheels there that that might help them in the long run. I think they managed to get sides of drive pinned in the past, perhaps. But if they can get some good reliability, some good luck on their side, then maybe this is the season where they can turn my head. As I said, Captain Shrederator has never been one that has really done much for me until last season. So, it is a case of it can turn around. But, I'll be interested to see what they can bring this season. It's in a field of a lot of grab and lift robots, and there are a lot of quite.
Is it the cream of the crop anymore, sort of thing?
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll be interested to see how they do. It's got this aesthetic. I know this anime girl on wheels, but we'll see. We'll see if it'll have any simps.
You fully lead into it there. You've seen you're down the rabbit hole. Let's just see where the tunnel takes us.
Yeah, if there's any tier one subs
for a word, and that was, dude. We've been at this for an hour and a half or longer.
Longer than that
now. This is what happens.
We're doing it in one sitting, folks. I hope you're enjoying it at home. Oh dear me. P1. Let's see if we get some justice. Let's see if we get some justice for P1.
Please.
P1 LM.
Yeah, P1 LM, the long tail version, or the endurance racer version, if you like. No spoiler, hence the change in branding. I will be honest, as much as I love the Gulf livery that they went with last time, I was really hoping they'd kind of mix it up and go with something a little bit, maybe a John Player special black and gold, or maybe like we've seen P1.2 or P.12 or something. I can't remember the 12 pounder version. It's got
P12?
the kind of, I want to say it's 1.2. I can't remember.
No, it's just P12.
Okay, whatever. But that's got like the Marlboro McLaren kind of livery kind of aesthetic, and I do love the Gulf livery version, but I was maybe expecting to see something different this season, but Gulf it is. I love it. It's a brilliant robot, and we've spoken before about it was maybe a little bit unfortunate to not get in the bracket, but we've discussed the reasons why it didn't. Its 2 wins were against lesser opposition than, say, Hypershock's 1 win against a robot that was in the top 32. This is a season for them to right a lot of wrongs. They've spent a lot of time speaking to the people who matter, your Greg Munsons, so on and so forth. They spent lots of Zoom calls saying, okay, what can we do to convince you that we can make this robot bracket worthy? This is the first time I believe that P1 has also got a full competitor placing. Like the last 2 times they've both been alternates. 2020 was a bit weird with that. I don't know what the situation was with that, but in 2019 especially, I know they were, and 18 with Parallax again, they were also alternates, I believe. So let's see. This is a big year for P1. I hope we get to see what it can do in all of its glory. It's got and surely it's got a grudge match with Hypershock written all over it.
You've got to imagine so.
I mean, we saw it in Lego Wars already.
Yeah, I think it should have a grudge match against Hypershock, against Gruff, and then whatever they want the third fight to be, because those are the two robots I think were contentious for the round of 32.
Correct.
Last season. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's an exciting robot nonetheless, and again, it looks like a little toy car. You can't hate it.
You can't.
Maybe a bot that can maybe utilize the shelf this year. Maybe flip things up onto it.
Yeah.
You know,
it is the last remaining
lifter. Yeah.
Yes.
Last remaining front hinge flipper.
I know.
No, forward thrust flipper, Jevan.
Forward thrust. They were close. We almost got it.
Front hinge flipper, because it hinges at the front of the robot. That is the important note. BattleBots.
It's at the front of the flipper. Not necessarily the front of the robot.
Either way, it hinges at the front.
Hi, I'm here.
Hello, Steve. Mum, Dad, please stop fighting. Let's move on. Let's move on to a team that also struggled a little bit last season, I think it's fair to say, in Pain Train.
It looks chonky.
It looks better, doesn't it?
It looks much better.
To be fair, again, they were another one of those teams that were, you've got 4 weeks, put the robot together, sort of thing.
And they built it live on the Norwalk stream.
They did.
So remarkable.
Yeah, it was great to watch as well.
Do you remember the days in which we had time to watch other things going on at Norwalk?
Yep, today is not one of those days.
Ooh.
I'll be watching back the VOD.
But I mean, literally, just it's wall-to-wall fights. There's no gaps for you to go, oh, and there's the Pain Train team building. Nope, Here we are back in the box.
They actually have 4 boxes this time, where they have another box back in the pits area, so they can have more, so that they can have more fights going, like the losers bracket, so that they can actually get through those fights more.
That's a really good idea.
You know, it makes sense. Now that you when you put it there, you're like, duh, of course you'd have more because of how many beetles go there. That is the beetle event. You know, so they have to have something there, and that's a smart choice. But anyway, Pain Train. Pain Train. I mean, this is the Norwalk bot. You know, I mean,
it's sponsored by NHRL.
Yeah,
there you go.
It is. Pain Train this time around, it looks a lot more stable, whereas last time, you know, we kind of said when we saw it initially, it looked like it just leaned backward, and as
the wheels were a lot further forwards on the older version. This time they've got very much their mass at the front of the robot, which is going to help them no end, I'm sure. Yeah,
it looks a much more refined version of what we saw last time, and obviously we know Evanorius can win competitions with his eyes closed half the time.
It does look, doesn't it? I think, somewhat more like Shrederator Pro this season than it did before.
Maybe just call it Shred It Bro, just heavyweight. I don't know.
Shred It Heavy.
Great name. Really good, Sam.
Shred It Bro H. There you go. That sounds fun.
Or just Shred It H, because he's got Shred It X, hasn't he?
Yes, exactly. Shred It H. There you go.
Yeah, which he may or may not have stolen from JMO, or did JMO steal it from him with the X? The experimental
one or the other
platform.
I believe JMO did it first.
I don't know.
Comments. Let us know. You know what to do. It's an interesting robot. Again, has that kind of weird drum-et. Okay.
So what's a 7 Drisk called?
A septisk.
That sounds infectious.
It does, doesn't it? You want to get that checked out of the doctor or something.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it. I like Pain Train. And, you know, the team are fun. So
got to keep the drum on the robot. That would be ideal.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, they do.
It looks powerful as well. They've been destroying some concrete with it.
Some of the test footage has been pretty good for Pain Train.
And
their crate, bots are made out of concrete.
Their crate was made out of Norwalk floor, I believe.
There you go.
It was. See, there's that branding. Let's move on from Pain Train. We move on to a robot that I absolutely had no expectation of seeing return, and somehow is still here. It's Perfect Phoenix.
Yeah,
I'm not
the zombified version.
I'm not confused as to how it's here or why it's here. What I'm confused about is how they've managed to straighten it. Because that is the same chassis, isn't it? I'm not mad.
So when we spoke with Ray Billings last time, we have to discuss Perfect Phoenix a little bit, because obviously he's kind of taken the mantle of...
He's instrumental in getting this to show up here.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can even see as well, even on the hero shot here, that kind of front plate that they've got across the front, which is welded on to mop up the 2 massive crevasses that Endgame sliced into the front end. And from what we understood, he spent hours and hours pressing that machine till it was straight again, and there was so many issues with getting it back together again. Like we thought it was going to be the last time we saw it, and lo and behold, here it is once again.
Do you know, I am a bit upset that in the off season they didn't paint it.
Yes, but at the same time, it is very much Tombstone branded isn't it? It's got the black body with the red spinner. It makes it's the lineage, isn't it? I suppose. I can see why.
But
I can see why. They could have done a lot like of Phoenix.
Put some Phoenix wings on properly. Yes, you got the logo there, but you could have made an effort with them.
Tell us what you really think, Jevan. Tell us what you really think, Jevan. Come on.
You could have made an effort.
It's nice to have what was Brutality back. Yes. Even if Paul can't come, his robot is still here. So I feel like at the level that BattleBots is now, it's a bit of a shame we're going to see potentially this robot get very, very badly written off. But
I mean, that's what we said last season as well. But
it did okay. It did okay, didn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
But
it did actually have an entertaining fight against Atom 94 in what I like to call the "Who will be my prodigy son."
Yeah,
that's right, because he did have hands in both those teams, right, Billy?
He did.
That is true.
Oh dear me. Let's move swiftly on before this gets out of hand, and we'll move on to a robot that was here last season and has had a big upgrade in Rampage.
Yeah. Let's go, Noxus. Let's do better this time. Let's rep Florida proud, man.
It's a
I love this team. I know them
big step up,
so.
isn't it?
It's not a two-wheel drive vert anymore.
It's a
four-wheel drive vert.
Of course.
I mean, to be fair, like if you're gonna base your robot off of something, you base it off of the robot that's winning, right? So
I don't think they've based their robot off of something, Sam. That looked very different.
We're gonna fall out, Jevan. We are. Do you know what? Okay, give the team credit. This is a much more
marked improvement.
Like genuinely, like last time it looked like God bless them. They put the machine together very quickly, as a lot of teams did. But it looks a bit of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
This does not look a bit of a mess. This is a lot better.
Mm-hmm. It's worth saying this is made out of some thick materials. Like, it is dense. It may not look like much on the outside. It is very, very, very thick on the inside. Like, and it's all AR, I believe.
It's dummy thick.
Yeah, it's dummy thick. Yeah, it's a. And as well, I mean, I love the copper paint as well.
Yes.
They've also put a bit of artistic styling with the kind of the flames on.
Yeah, look, they've actually put some details onto their black robot.
Oh, Jevan, come on. Again, don't expect too much in terms of hyper competitibility. Is that right? That sounds like a word. I've made a word.
Merriam-Webster. Let me call Merriam-Webster.
Susie Dent says no.
Okay. Sorry, Susie. Don't expect much in terms of being hyper competitive this season. That's better. That sounds more like it. But it's an improvement. They're a learning team. They've fought every weight class under the sun beneath heavyweight. Last time was their first heavyweight. This is obviously the second. Let's see what they can do. Give them the benefit of the doubt. They're a team that arrived at short notice last time, and they had some pretty horrendous fights. They ended up fighting. Who was it? It was obviously Fusion we discussed already.
Yeah.
And I can't remember their other big fight.
They fought Black Widow.
That wasn't their big fight though.
That was a great fight though. Have you seen that? That was a great fight. Yeah. It's a proper old school 90s fight. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it really was a harkening back to a time long past. It was fun.
It was great. I really enjoyed that.
But what was their other fight? I don't know.
I want to say was it War Easy? Might have been War Easy because War Easy won a fight, didn't it? And I want to say it was against Rampage. Jevan, let us know.
I'm doing the work.
Come on,
yeah.
He's got this.
No, those are its only two fights.
Oh, okay. Well, take it back then. So it didn't win a fight last season, but you know what? Let's see what it can do this time around, shall we?
I think it has potential to win some this time.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a four-wheel drive vert, and we know how good they are. So let's see.
Yep.
Moving on. We do not have a four-wheel drive vert. We have Retrograde, which is a split team. We've talked about, obviously, a few teams this season have got more than one entry. This is the second half of the team from Bloodsport. Retrograde is a overhead grappling lifter, if I can get my words out. But on the back, which you can't see in the hero shot here, but on the back is a very big horizontal spinner.
Won't everybody be surprised when they see that?
It's an undercutter, and I think it's an interesting design in that you could grab hold of your opponent, suplex them straight onto the weapon.
Yeah, it's a very exciting idea.
It allows you to spin up at the back as well, which is quite good. Very clever.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed a little bit by this.
It seems overcomplicated.
Well, it does, but I like that. I'm a little bit disappointed because I saw the CAD of it, and the CAD had a lot more going on. It had like exhaust pipes and purple everywhere. And
I was going to
lighting.
say the CAD looked really, the purple colouring on the CAD looks really pretty, and I was a bit disappointed they didn't go with that.
It is a silver box, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit. It's a shame, but you know what? Okay, time constraints, and they were putting two robots together. I can understand it.
Yeah, for sure. But it still could be. It could be a dark horse for a couple cool fights. We might be underestimating what. I mean, Jevan's having a hard time. But
this is what happens when you do it in one sitting.
This is true.
Steve loses his mind. I get tired, and Sam.
There we go.
Makes up words.
I can't speak yet. We're nearly there. About 2/3 of the way through, right?
We are.
Let's move on quickly before we lose our minds even more to Ribbot.
Yes,
now we
my
get to gush
Frog
about this guy.
King.
Yeah, it's such a
I need to look up
robot.
a fact about Ribbot. Do continue.
Good thing.
Well, Ribbot last time around was a top 8 placer. They beat Uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
They've got lots of modular weapons. They've got the vert. They've got the horizontal. They believe they had a lifter of some description as well in the past. But it's a wonderful, wonderful little, brick of a machine. Obviously from the same university, or graduated from the same university as Paul Ventimiglia, who put together Bite Force. It is essentially Bite Force in a frog costume.
It is, yeah. It's got some really interesting features this season. First thing I'm noticing on the picture is that they've put a guard around their weapon belt, which is good forward thinking.
Yep.
You'll notice the danger high voltage sticker.
Yeah,
that is there for a very specific reason. Even this season, Ribbot has the highest voltage weapon system in BattleBots history at 252 volts fully charged,
which is more than Uppercut had last season.
Yeah, I told this to some Roboteers at BUB Beetle Champs last weekend, and they were like, "That's mental."
It's like 60s.
Yeah, it is
stupid,
crazy. It's going to be a very, very powerful robot, and I believe Sam has high hopes for Ribbot this season.
We'll get to that a bit later on, yes, but Ribbot it was a good robot already. Let's not be
very, very clear.
Yeah, they were very unlucky to not beat Black Dragon and be in that top 4 last season. Okay, whether it would have done anything against Whiplash is neither here nor there, but it's a solid machine. And
they also reportedly have a drum configuration this season because, as we know, everything's a drum.
Everything is a drum.
Where would Ribbot fall on your chart? Because they can interchange weapons and stuff.
The multi-bot, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't count.
When it's in its vert configuration, it's a vert.
Okay.
All
right, fine.
That was easy enough, wasn't it? This robot coming up next, though, would appear on your chart as an egg beater because it is an egg beater. It is Riptide.
Yeah, this is base egg beater, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. But it also has the Yeti style kind of forks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that. I think I don't know what I didn't know that they had them because I'd seen all the photos of them didn't seem to have it, and then all of a sudden there's some forks. Because they have a YouTube channel where they've been doing some testing and stuff.
I think they can be removed, a la Yeti before. They can take them off and use them if they want to or not want to, depending on their opponent. So
this is a smaller weight class robot that's scaled up. The team first competed at Norwalk, I believe. And I like it. It's a really nice design. It is
for a first time heavy again. Yeah, it's an interesting robot. It's again got that lovely candy blue, which we gushed about with Overhaul, and it's nice. It's a good first time entry. It's got would it be able to self-right with the arms? Maybe. Would it be able to run upside down? Certainly with the kind of bunny ears that they've got by the egg beater. But,
at least being able to get over to the wall and push themselves back over. It's possible, with a little bit of skilled, artful driving.
Yep.
And it's got a hell of a hum on it, as you'd expect from an egg beater.
Yeah, it's got a nice little noise going as well. A lot of redundancy as well with about, I think, 2 or 3 weapon belts there. So
yeah.
Exciting. An exciting newcomer, and hopefully, they don't get too battered early on because, the competition is very tough, as we've discussed already. Our boy Victor Soto and Brotator,
This is fantastic.
This is peak Rotator.
I love it. I love it so
really
much.
is.
I prefer this to 2 discs.
I know.
I'll say it. I'll say it. I'm going there. This is it.
This was nice for a time.
The wheel guards.
I agree with you.
The wheel guards on this robot with this disc, the lovely gold and everything, and the grey. It's not black, it's grey.
It's very matte
and
grey.
Gold on grey is just such a good combination, and it looks like they've got the big bootay on the back there as well.
Yeah, so
it's such a good configuration. Yeah, bootay hunters, mock.
If you know what we're talking about, then God bless you.
If you know, you know.
Another thing as well, which I've particularly noticed, is that kind of the hump on the top.
Yeah,
it's angled slightly forward.
When you say you've noticed this, Sam,
everyone noticed it.
Yeah,
you're just pointing it out.
Yeah, well, I'm pointing it out for the sake of the viewers, Jeff.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Not everybody,
enough.
To be complete.
So you have that front end there, which in previous seasons has been flat. It's so you can run upside down, and the disc can run at a higher level instead of dragging it along the floor and it being a bit awkward.
The way they've got anymore.
Well, the way they've got it angled now is similar to Texas Twister a couple of years ago, where when it ran upside down or ran correctly, it ran as an undercutter, and then if it gets flipped over, the angle of the spinner is angled down, so it can still.
So it's going to be sort of this sort of angle, I think.
Yep.
Just sort of chopping away at the sort of lower parts of the robots, maybe not so well armoured.
The awkwardly armourable areas of your opponent. I just have to say as well, just the detailing of Rotator this time it's just so much more than what we've seen in previous years. Rotator's always been a bit flashy with the gold and what have you, but the decals and the way it looks and the stripes, it all adds up to make this just. As you two, already kind of alluded to, I think this is the best looking Rotator we've ever seen.
This is one of the robots that is up there for me as like biting at the heels of the championship. Like,
they were unlucky, so unlucky last time. If you look at the way they lost.
Yeah, Endgame was an incredibly close decision. Endgame were not in a good way after that fight, and Rotator, I think, took the damage points in the end. It's
because, to be fair as well, their weapon died afterwards as well. If their weapon hadn't have died, they would have won that fight. So it's just one of those unfortunate things. How would they have dealt with Shatter? It's pure speculation at that point. But
I reckon they'd have gone upside down, because
maybe
if you're going to hit the disc, big on you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. To be fair,
with the fact of Shatter's blade, with the fact that Shatter's blade was a little bit of a known quantity, where if it gets stuck in something and it's going to get broken, that was found out last year.
Victor is the master tactician.
He's so good.
He has such a way of knowing, okay, this is going to be good in this fight, this is going to work, this is not.
Correct.
And now that the rules have been tweaked so that we can't have incidences like beta, yeah. Then fingers crossed. I think Rotator's got a shot at least top 4, if not higher.
It'll take I think they do. Obviously, it depends on the draw. You have to have a favourable run. Everyone does, but we'll see. It's a top quality machine. It's gone from that very, very good band to that elite band now. I think, especially with the
it's incredible
last time as well.
Yeah,
it's
incredible.
One of those. It's a robot that, honestly, Hexbug obviously made 2 versions of Witch Doctor. I can see them making this.
Yeah, maybe.
It's very pretty. It is very pretty. Almost as pretty as our next robot, which is Rusty!
Yay!
Somebody sat on him.
He's been to the gym.
Oh yes, he's buff.
He's bulked out.
Swole.
Yeah, swole Rusty. For those that don't know, Rusty this season has an ICE in it.
Mm-hmm.
The hammer is as a ICE compressor. It's an ICE compressor, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the pneumatic system, it's
silly.
It's gonna make a great old school noise while looking old school, but it doesn't old school materials anymore.
Well, it doesn't because the actual body of it, the circular section, looks like something he's found. I do think that's been done just by effects this time, though. I think this is not found machinery this time. I don't know that for definite.
I want to say it's a lot of brushless in there again, and I think majority of the armor is AR this time around. So
well, it was brushless last time, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah. It was a brushless track robot. It's just a silly thing to do. But
he's
that's what he did.
Have a lot of hit. I think this time is a lot of ability to really clang the opponent.
Also, with how many companies are backing him this time, if you look at the sponsor list on the BattleBots page, it's immense. It's immense.
It just shows as well, we've obviously talked in the past before about the level of competition in BattleBots. It also shows that a robot with you can think outside the box, with a bit of imagination, it shows that you don't need to spend thousands and thousands on a super expensive, highly competitive machine. If you've got a load of personality, if you can bring that to the fore with Rusty, which he had last season, look what you can achieve. And obviously, Dave, bless him, completely deserves his success, and he's brought a team with him this time as well, which is lovely.
He has. It's his family, I believe, his mum and dad.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, which is great.
And Dave, do please come on the podcast. I'd love to have a chat with you.
That'd be lovely. It would be lovely, wouldn't it? Rusty is glorious. I believe, though, they had a few issues with weight when they first arrive.
It does look very heavy.
Yeah.
Especially if it's got an ICE in there.
Yeah, so we'll see what format it actually ends up looking like rather than this necessarily, but apparently it was quite hefty when it first arrived, so we'll see what we get with Rusty. Yeah,
he dummy
thick.
Yep.
The return of SawBlaze, a top 8 competitor. It wasn't 4 last time. It was beaten
it wasn't.
by
Not
Tantrum.
quite.
No, this is again a glorious evolution of what we've already seen.
4 forks.
Yeah,
4 forks now.
Yeah, the
which already outdates this.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Jameson didn't want to stand still and put another fork on it. He also has that glorious, machined UHMW kind of panels at the front. Really, really nice effect. SawBlaze is an incredibly, competitive machine. As we know, Megatron as well has won featherweight events all across the country in the past. Hasn't quite done it yet with SawBlaze. However, you can't write it off, can you?
You cannot. Not any chance of writing this off. Again, it's one of those robots that is up there top 4 for me.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to get an idea of what your bracket's going to look like, Jevan.
There are 5 robots, I think, in my top 4 now.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
I will say as well, I think the fight with Uppercut, particularly last season, will definitely have kind of made Jameson go back and think, okay, I need to prepare for something like this, because we've never seen SawBlaze damage like that before. Like, it was ruined after that fight.
Well, I think this is why the UHMW has come, because
a lot of shock absorption.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of area he was hit to finish him off in the end. Fingers crossed that's enough. But obviously, he is quite the tactician and has, the floppy rubber uprights that he's fought Tombstone with in the past. He's got setups.
He has a lot of them.
Yeah.
Intriguing to see how SawBlaze gets on this season again, as well as this beauty. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how Bots FT do it. Every single time Shatter comes back, it just somehow looks better than the previous one.
I will say I'm not big on the helmet look.
No,
but
I
everything
love it.
else you do, yeah.
I'm big on it.
Okay, all right. It's still got to grow on me a little bit because I'm so used to seeing it other ways. So, but
I like the fact that this is more based Shatter. This is how they went into the tournament bracket last time, and they've proved that that's acceptable, and they don't need all the gimmicks to do it. But it's a nice combination of both this time, which is nice.
Can I also say the new weapon?
Yeah, the glaive.
It looks like something out of Final Fantasy or something.
It really does.
Oh, it's just literally every time. I mean, and as well, the team where again, like the Bots FC away kit, I suppose, if you could say, if you forgive me the football, puns here. Obviously, they're a football-based team, or soccer if you're American. It's just a great look, and they've got their brand so nailed on, and I love it. And Shatter is wonderful.
This weapon doesn't stand much of a chance of breaking in the same way that the usual one does,
because it's all one solid piece.
It is,
it'll bend before it breaks.
Yeah,
and should anyway.
As we know, if it bends, they're still going to hit with it.
I mean, to be fair, they've hit with the stump before, haven't they?
This is true. That's exactly what you're alluding to.
So, I'm intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued to see how Shatter gets on this year, because we saw last season, they finished in the top 8. They lost to Endgame. Okay, it didn't really go well against Endgame, but they lost to the eventual champions. And the only other loss that they took was against Malice, which was a very, very, again, one-hit wonder, wasn't it, from Malice that got them the win.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. Shatter is a dark horse.
The best DAC spot in the world, I believe.
It's a big claim, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
As much as I love my Axe spots. I love Terahertz.
Yeah.
It's my baby. But
you Jason Marston's with Thor. It's like there's
this is right up there, isn't it?
It's
as an aside, you just reminded me. Terahertz is actually competing in Saudi Arabia at the minute.
It is, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
I didn't even know they had events there, man. That's awesome.
They didn't until now.
There's an 18-day event going on over there at the moment. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
3 weeks of Robot Combat,
Yeah,
Robots Live.
It's crazy.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's very cool. Shatter is wonderful, and I'm absolutely here for it, and I hope to all hell that it does the business again this year, because it was it was just great to watch last time.
Alrighty.
Also great to watch last time was
Here he comes.
Scorpios.
Mm-hmm.
They've we saw last time they've improved the motor power with a big giant brushless weapon motor that they've got to dump at the front, and hopefully you'll be able to deliver a few more solid hits, because the one real complaint we had with Scorpios last time was the potency of that hammer saw. Not quite as powerful as SawBlaze, it's hard to get to that level of effectiveness, but we kind of thought, well, why would you ever want Scorpios when you've got SawBlaze about, right? Like what does Scorpios has that SawBlaze doesn't? And maybe that'll go some way to remedying that.
They have some really, really good configurations this season. If you've been keeping up with the Scorpios YouTube channel, they've been showing off some of these bits and bobs. Obviously, they've got the new weapon on there that's got a bit more bite on it.
Yeah, more engagement.
Yeah. But the biggest thing that they've done is they've got this thing called the Scorpion King armor, which is this big fork setup with these long forks sticking out and just able to scoop things up.
Well, they had something similar last time, didn't they? They had something for like Hypershock that they had in the bounties.
Similar. The Scorpion King has more forks all the way around it. It's more of a dustpan, I would say, than their usual setup. But obviously they have also got the anti-vert setup, so it
which works well. I mean, it worked well against Hypershock, particularly Hypershock, maybe not as much against Witch Doctor, but it gave them a good fight. And obviously they made adjustments to that post the Witch Doctor fight. Of course, a bounty hunter winner in their own right. They beat ICEWave, as we've already discussed.
Yep.
It's just a very solid robot, isn't it? Again, it's not quite in that elite bracket yet. It's knocking on the door, but it's not quite let in yet. I think it's a good season.
I think with some knockout potential, it'll really break through, because it really does rely on a judge's decision. I really think with something with him, if it has more of that knockout punch this time, I wouldn't be upset throwing it into a higher tier robot. Honestly,
I mean, it beat Tombstone. You can't.
It did.
You can't get much higher tier than that, can you?
No, you can't. That one's still the top dog, no matter what anybody says, us included. But in any case, I give Zach and Diana, all the luck in the world. I know she's quite busy at the moment judging Norwalk.
She is.
But I hope it went well for them, because I know that they're quite deserving of some success with this machine.
Yeah.
It seems to just kind of get there and then just right at the end just can't seem to push through, but we will see.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Moving on, we have Slammo.
Oh, my eyes again. Why?
Do you know what?
I wanted to get 3D lenses for this, man.
I'll tell you what, okay.
Forgot them.
So Slammo have lost the W.
Yes.
After picking up a couple of Ws last season. Obviously, no longer sponsored by Mobot. I love the look. As much as we've said, it's a bit of a
little headache-inducing.
But that's what I mean.
That's one of its best weapons.
That's one of its perks.
It's attacking the opponent's eyes.
Yep.
And I mean, as well as that, the teamwear as well. I want the Slammo shirt.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I mean, Craig. I know you're coming back on the podcast this year. We've already spoken about it, but please, I need them shirts, brother. Come on. It was a very effective robot and a very good robot last time around. Definitely the best Danby machine we've seen on a TV show this century.
Yeah.
What's the limit of Slammo? Like, does it bracket? If it's effective, could it have quite a nice
I hope so. It made the bracket last time. If it can go a little bit further than last time, that's great. If it can match it, that's also great.
It gave Witch Doctor a hell of a fight, didn't it, last time?
Oh, it did. It really did. It was a really good back and forth. This version of Slammo reminds me more of what it was based on, his little Amp-Weights Eclipse. Yeah. I think that's no bad thing. It's a very nice design. We saw it was effective last season. I hope they've also got the wedge set up, because that really did help them out against some horizontals.
I think the only thing that maybe Craig got
what made you Craig?
what made Craig kind of give him? He had some bad, I think, choices in terms of setups, because I think he said it himself. He wasn't aggressive enough, especially with like the verts. Like he put the wedge on against Black Dragon, didn't he? And he didn't go with like the tongue or just with the forks. I feel like if he was a bit more, had a bit more confidence in himself and kind of said, okay, I'm going to be the aggressor here. I'm going to try and beat him to the floor because he's got massive forks. Let's face it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe that something like that could have affected fights. Things going slightly differently, but. What's done is done, and I'm sure he would have learned a lot from last time. And having not changing the robot radically, like the last 2 times he's been there, he's had Predator and obviously Foxtrot, 2 very radically different machines. Whereas this is very much an evolution of.
It's got to be a much more comfortable feeling going with something like, all right, we're going with something that had some success. I have something to build on. I'm sure that's got to be at least somewhat of a relief. I know it's still, you still want to keep doing better, but it's got to at least rest a little easier, know that like, all right, it's we have more. There's more to come. It's not just like, oh, it's a completely new design and it's an unknown quantity and I hope it works
because they know it does.
Well, yeah. So
exactly. Moving swiftly on from Slammer, we have Monochrome Smee.
Yeah, I don't mind the look of this, honestly. I
like
really,
it.
really don't.
Looks
It's
great.
got a very. It's got the stealth bomber aesthetic, and it doesn't have stickers anymore. Those are all individually bolted on every letter. So
I wonder how many of those they're going to lose.
I don't know.
I will say as well, they've obviously put a bit of effort into improving the weapon setup as well, because you can kind of see them poking out there a little bit.
I wish they were poking out a little more, though, man. I mean.
One thing I will say is that a little bit of battle damage you can see on the right hand side? Maybe it's some of the same pods from last season.
Yeah, the same ones.
Spares maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it ain't broke.
Well, there's that, and also, but the thing is, we talked towards the end of last season, especially in the bounties. Like Smee had really like the fight against Mammoth, where it just absolutely just
that was awesome.
Just filled the arena. Like it was very much like what we're used to seeing from Smee and things like Norwalk Havoc, where it bosses the arena and just shuts their opponent down. It's a pretty intriguing robot, Smee, and I think again with the season out, kind of they've gone away. They've looked at well, this worked, this didn't. Smee is it's a dark horse of maybe not winning the title. Let's not get carried away, but certainly getting some decent results. It's something you don't really want to fight straight away and think
it's got to fight something that's got some kinetic energy power before I start saying it's got a really good chance.
Well, that's the thing. It's done well at smaller weight classes. Okay, yes, scaling is very difficult as we've discussed
it is.
Ad nauseum.
Yes,
but the potential's there. And the way that it moves around the arena, especially towards the end of last season where they dialed the problems out, why not? It can win fights. It can, certainly put on a show at the very least.
The P1 fight was a show.
It was
even though it didn't win.
It was incredible. It was such a good fight, and the fight against Kraken as well was really good.
Yeah.
Potential, I think, is the word for Smee and that team. Is this the most improved robot of last season?
Yes.
Easily.
Because Sub-Zero was wonderful to watch last time. And, that second fight against Valkyrie where just bossed the fight. Excellent.
It's a team that's really found their footing. I mean, originally I didn't like Sub-Zero, the big silver box thing that people couldn't seem to break, sure, but did it put on an exciting fight? Not particularly. It then came back as this redesign, which looked much better, but still it struggled, but that was after it was cobalted. Last season was them waking up and really, really going for it.
Well, I know the team was a bit changed, wasn't it? The bot changed hands going over to Logan Davies, and they really, it was very clear that they'd worked hard on it. And, not that the team previously didn't do so, because obviously they did, but maybe you just need sometimes you need a fresh perspective on things and a new way of looking at things to kind of appreciate what you've got. And Sub-Zero last season, there wasn't a fight where I thought, do you know what, they're being hopelessly outclassed here. The only 2 losses that they took were 3 losses that they took. The first one against Jackpot, where they clearly were on top but ended up coming over and breaking. They then lost to Valkyrie. No disgrace there. They started so well, and I thought
they bossed that fight.
For that brief second
where
they flipped them against the wall, you're like, oh my god, what is going on? And then it got peeled apart, which
Witch Doctor had gone to the school of Bite Force.
Oh, and they sniped Spitfire. Too. That was so good. They ripped the paddle off and got Spitfire with it. That was great. It's a wonderful robot, Sub-Zero, and it's again, we've talked about the best flippers in the series. Obviously, you have to consider Sub-Zero in that kind of bracket now. Like they have really taken to their own. I don't think it's of the same level and caliber as maybe Hydra and potentially others are, but you don't want to fight again. You don't want to fight it early doors because you're going to get a tough fight.
Yeah, and of course I got redemption later on in the series in the bounty against Valkyrie. So I mean, it's not like it couldn't have won that first fight. It just didn't pan out for them. A good win against Malice as well, getting stuck on its end, which also Malice has fixed, thankfully. But I look forward to their fights. I will say it has filled that Bronco-shaped hole in our hearts a little bit. Where it's nice to have a launcher flipper that can really, live up to what we loved about Bronco.
It really makes me wonder why Bronco struggles so much. Mm-hmm. Because Sub-Zero are proving that, you could do it.
Yes.
Especially with it has a much shorter wheelbase than Bronco as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Bronco, a lot of the things that they've said is okay, well, we have to fit these massive, nitrogen tanks in there, but clearly Sub-Zero do too. So where's the problem?
Oh well.
We'll never know. Maybe we'll see Bronco come back in a few years.
Yep, we will see. And then Spitfire doing its Spitfire thing. So
yes,
last drone standing.
Still going, and it's got its own little branding now as well. It's got its own team page on Facebook. It does. Which is wonderful.
That's super.
I love it. A brand new team entering into BattleBots in 2021 is Switchback, a fully actuated rotating drum. It's quite the thing.
It is not an overhead weapon.
It's not an overhead weapon. I'm glad you said that, Steve.
It's not.
It's not.
I've been put in my place because I've said it before, and it's not.
It's not a hammer drum. Shut up.
So hang on, how many bars are on there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of it. Is that 10?
Baker's dozen.
Yeah, hang on, I'm trying to count them now.
6, 7, and I've lost count. My eyes hurt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This is
it's an actual dozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a 12. What's 12?
Dodecadrisk. I love it. Yeah. Switchback is a weird and wonderful thing. I don't think it's going to be massively competitive, but I'm glad they built it.
I don't know. I think it stands a chance. It does what other robots don't. In fact, it does what Whiplash can, but nobody else has really been able to yet. Though Hydra may be able to, which is actually set their weapon to attack Hydra. Not Hydra, huge. My bad. This thing they can set to certain heights. It's not.
Yes.
They're not bringing it down. They're setting it in place and driving forwards. It looks powerful. Test box footage looks very impressive. I am concerned about how top heavy it is.
Well, we've seen there's been other photos that have been circulating online where particularly the side armor panels have been changed to
they've got these sort of L shapes to hold it down.
They appear to have many attachments to deal with tipping.
Yeah. I'm wondering whether it's a tracer deal, whether they've added them retroactively, said, okay, this is broken, or this hasn't worked out for us, so we need to fix this by doing this. Or whether it's just an attachment that they have and they can just swap out at will. We'll have to see. They've also got some wedgelets for the front.
Also, it is tiny.
It is very small.
Tiny. So.
It is very small. But you know what? Good things come in small packages, as we're going to tell from our next robot.
Oh boy.
It's your boy, Tantrum.
What a good boy.
Oh, what a wonderful robot. And okay, as much as, Blip has kind of taken a lot of people's, quite rightly, taken a lot of people's imagination, and, a lot of people have kind of focused their attention on Blip from Seems Reasonable. Tantrum really has had a lot of love given to it as well this season. You've got like beautiful curved armor at the front. They've managed to incorporate the fists again, which they did have to lose because of the weight issues and the battery capacity issues that they had at the start of last season.
Yeah.
What a bloody wonderful little robot this is. And again, I know we'll get to our predictions a little bit later on, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that Tantrum could be right up there. It just depends.
They're in my top 4.
Yeah. Are they as well?
6.
Yeah, that's another top 4.
it just depends on how the new team and particularly the new driver of Tantrum deals with it. Because obviously Aaron has got a lot of practice with the machine. He knows what it can and can't do. I don't doubt that the new driver will have had a lot of practice as well. However, it's whether they're as good as Aaron was, which about maximising what the package is basically. But it's just such a gorgeous little brick of a robot, isn't it?
It'll be interesting to see how well they fare this time, because I know, I mean, going with 2 robots, you have twice the amount of chance of winning the championship, but you're also splitting you're splitting your team. You know, it can be difficult. At least you're not splitting it across borders like Gigabyte did. But it's an interesting bot. I'll give it credit where it's due. I didn't expect it to do as well as it did last year. I don't think anybody did.
No. It was the bracket breaker.
It was awesome. Season. It was just wonderful, and I'm glad to see it back. It's gonna make noise again. I do have it at least in the quarters.
I'm hoping they discussed about having the stream mech and the weapon on the same system, and that's why it couldn't self-right in the end game fight, because the weapon was down. Whether they've separated them out into 2 different systems, I don't know, but
a bit more redundancy sort of thing.
Yeah, and team members Alex Grant and Ginger Schmidt.
Yes,
are the new captains. Yes,
they are.
What a great little boy that is.
I know.
And of course, Tombstone, which...
Speaking of great little boys.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, Tombstone is normally, it's Tombstone, it's the same as it always was, moving swiftly on. No, it's an all-new Tombstone. It's tiny.
It is.
Where's the rest of it, Ray? What have you done?
It's smaller, it's got a custom motor this time for the weapon. It's got this new armor package, as you can see. It looks very, very cool, and I love the new weapons as well.
Yeah, the kind of the red bar, like all the silver with the red tips, and this kind of beveled, angled, bar as well that they've got on the hero shot.
Yeah, one thing I do like about this, and I know you talked about it a little bit briefly with its armor plating. I like how the armor plating is kind of
it's one
sat
piece
in a little bit, and it's also it's all one piece, and I like how the top plating is sat in a little bit. It's not sticking out from the bar. Because I have a feeling you would expect the bar to get hit the most. I'm curious to see how he does this time, because it's the conversation every time. It's like, oh, is Tombstone washed up? Is this his last? It's like, he's gonna be fine. But I'm sure those conversations will happen. Let's just see if he goes 0-1 in his first thing, and see if the Twitter arguments begin.
My one issue that I could have with Tombstone this year, obviously, we know Ray's not going to do anything half-heartedly. He comes to win every season, as we come to expect. The only thing is, we've seen in the past when robots make a radical change to their design, or a lot of things internally change too much too soon, or too much at once. There's a lot of new elements to Tombstone this time. There's the new armor package.
We saw Lockjaw go through that
exactly
until they got it all figured out.
It's a lot slimmer. It's a lot, it's a lot leaner than it has.
Got some cooling in there as well, I believe. That's why they've got the vents in the top.
Correct. It's a lot of changes all at once. Obviously, the chassis being smaller as well, it's a lot more structural rigidity. It's going to improve the way that kind of the energy when it comes back into Tombstone is going to be dissipated a little bit better than maybe it was previously. But is it going to be too many changes all at once? Because sometimes it's good to introduce this one season and then this and then this and then this, and slowly update it as you get used to more things. It's going to be difficult maybe if there's a problem, let's say fight 1, what do they troubleshoot? Is it just going to be one thing that they have to fix, or is it a multitude of things? You don't know, but I'm sure he would have thought about that already, because let's face it, Ray has won BattleBots, he's won RoboGames many times over the years. He knows what he's doing, and I'm just sat here talking to a microphone, so
yeah,
we'll see. Now.
No. Just no.
No. Really?
Mum and Dad are talking about Triple Crown.
We can talk about this a little bit.
So first things first, the thing that intrigues me the most about Triple Crown is who it's built by.
Yes, that's the most important part in my opinion.
So the most frustrating part for me.
For those that don't know, Triple Crown is put together by, I can't remember the guy's name, Steve, you've got to know
Todd
this.
Mendenhall.
That's the guy. And
everyone will know who he is, hopefully.
For those that don't know, he was the guy behind Panzer Mark II and Panzer Mark IV in
and
Robot
Panzer
Wars,
Mark 1.
And Panzer Mark 1 in Robot Wars, Extreme Warriors, and Robotica. Yeah. I thought it was Panzer Mark III in Robotica.
No. No, it was 4. 4. I don't know where 3 is. I don't know if 3 even exists.
I think 3 was Robotica. Was 4, because 4
was it?
were Extreme Warriors 2, and 3 was Extreme Warriors.
I'm going to settle this.
I'm sure it was in Robotica, sorry. I'm sure it was. Because Mark 2 won Extreme Warriors 1, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And
that was the one that was like there was a tan tank. I remember that one.
That was the one that lost the Firestorm.
It was Panzer Mark.
About Panzer Mark.
It was Panzer Mark 3.
Yes.
I'm the idiot bean.
Which must mean that Triple Crown's an excellent robot because Sam loves it.
I'm just. You know how we were talking about last year? Who were we talking about? I think it was Nick Buchholz. We were talking about when are they going to implement swivel drive into a robot?
There it is.
Here it is.
I
don't know what only robots to not have a team page on well, not a team page, a robot page on BattleBots website.
It's a mystery. I love this robot. I think it's weird and wonderful, and I don't expect it to last very long. But do you know what? It's so out there. It's so outside the box.
Its weapon is held on by what might as well be zip ties, Sam.
I don't care. I love it. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like, there's no need for it to be as dumb as it is, and yet the thing is, okay, the guy could have put together a Panzer Mark V. Genuinely could have.
And we'd have all thanked him for it.
No, because listen, he's done something so different, like, to everything else.
Yeah.
And I respect that. Like, as much it may not be that competitive. It may not be, and I don't expect it to win any fight. I'll be brutally honest.
It'd be interesting to see how well Swerve Drive works in.
There's that. However, credit to him, he could have gone, I really want to go and win this, or I want to build something that I want to build.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so different to everything else out there.
I want to challenge myself.
Yeah, I mean, I believe this was accepted into the 2020 season, which we obviously never got put together, and obviously it's here now. Let's see. Does it get a televised fight? Well,
this might be why it doesn't have a robot page on the website.
Right.
It may have not been complete when it arrived at the pits. Let's say that much.
But it got its photo done, so why not make a team page for it?
It's very strange, isn't it? Very strange.
Also, it's meant to have another weapon module on the blue section that I don't see.
It's not a triple crown, it's a double crown.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, the original CAD it had a big circle around it for some reason.
Yeah, like a rotating armor spin thing.
That didn't make any sense either.
No, it didn't.
Oh, well.
But
it's good to see. In any case, it's still good to see Todd back.
It is,
it's good to see old hats throw their hats back, and old guys throw their hats back into the ring again.
Hey, you never know. It might be a bounty.
It could be. That'd be cool. You never know.
The Panzer Mark bounty.
Yes. Uppercuts. What a leap forward this robot was last season.
Yeah.
It went from a top 16 by the skin of your teeth robot to a, oh my god, this thing is a destroyer of worlds.
I mean, in 2019, I looked at Uppercut, and then I think I looked past Uppercut because it was just very much in the background doing its thing.
Mm-hmm. It was not Monsoon, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah. And then this last season came about, and it made sure you saw it by blowing up SawBlaze.
and yeeting a Gemini halfway across the box.
Completely done in.
Yeah.
Trying to take out poor Lisa in the process.
I hope they moved her seat because they were targeting her last year.
It doesn't matter. She'll still get targeted.
She's a bot magnet.
Yeah.
I will say one thing about Uppercut. The only thing that kind of let them down was the drive, because I think that was the only thing they didn't change due to the fact that the robot was complete, but it wasn't improved.
It was so sad watching that Ribbot fight.
Yeah.
It just sort of going, I can't move anymore. I'm dead.
Because we didn't really get to see what it could do against like the big heavy hitters. Okay, we saw it against Hydra, but if that was a bit of an unusual fight, and Uppercut's strength definitely isn't in its controllability in the way of like controlling a fight.
It's a chaos box on wheels.
Yeah, it really is. I wonder how we'll see it get on this time around. Like, and as well as that, now they've got a big target on their back as well. Because let's face it, you didn't really go into 2020 thinking, okay, Uppercut's going to be a really serious competitor, are you? Whereas now they were like, okay, these guys, they blew up SawBlaze. There was nothing, SawBlaze was done after that. So.
I'd be surprised if it doesn't happen again with somebody. I'd be very surprised.
There is already a photo on the BattleBots Facebook page of them and a big fireball in front of them. So either that's them against a flamethrower robot, or
not NDA if it's public.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm so excited to see Uppercut again. That's so much.
Alex Satori is going to have a lot of fun.
The original undercutter in Valkyrie. The first one. The very first. An exciting robot. Obviously, last season again took that big leap forward. The reliability's properly there now. They've been able to, deliver hits for 3 minutes, especially against that rotator fight as well. Was
genuinely scary now.
We spoke to Pete Abraham last season. He said it was this, Tombstone, and Uppercut are the three big hitters of the field, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you want to fight.
No,
really.
Although
Whiplash
Cavity got retired last time.
I think a few weapons did, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Sweet Caroline's gone as well because they've got Sour Caroline now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is the profile of the teeth is slightly different, isn't it, on Sweet and Sour Carolines?
I don't know.
But yeah,
Dr. Cavity was officially retired.
Yes, Steve, thank you for that great technical input.
What I'm here for.
Let's face it, Valkyrie's a dangerous weapon on wheels, isn't it? There's not much else to it.
Yeah,
I don't really know how to quantify it in terms of.
This is very much the John Reed behind the scenes interview where he says, to build a good fighting robot, you need to focus on the weapon first and then build the robot around that primary weapon.
That was Ian Lewis.
Okay, well, whoever. It was in the same... Whatever.
It's all good.
He says it's all about the big axe.
It came from a guy who built a robot one time.
He says it's all about the big axe. It's the same thing. He's saying that the weapon is the most important part of the robot. And here I feel that the weapon is the most important part of Valkyrie, and the design has just followed suit. It puts the weapon out front, unashamedly, and for all to see, and for all to feel, and the chassis behind it will just support it all the way.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And it did last season. It did very well. Yeah. I think a bit unfortunate to fight Whiplash twice.
Yes. That was a rough draw.
But to be fair as well, when they went into the bounties, we thought, okay, they're just going to beat Sub-Zero again, and they didn't. So it is fallible. We know it is fallible. Yeah. It has had reliability issues in the past, as we've been well documented. But
it certainly warmed up a lot quicker this last season.
And it was a lot better, wasn't it, last time around? So again, let's see if that trajectory can carry on. It's a very dangerous weapon and a very.
They'll be primed and ready this time. Yes. There's going to be no feeling out period. This is just. I have a feeling it's just going to be full on aggression.
Correct.
So we'll see.
Speaking of Whiplash, here it is.
Right next to each other.
Last year's runner-up, and what a run it was.
Yeah.
I
really thought that was going to be the one. This was going to be the year. Now they have to deal with the second place curse.
It was. I don't think they'll get that.
They'll break the curse.
Yeah, they're not going to.
They don't care about your dumb curses.
Well, let's face it.
Whiplash.
Let's face it again. If you look at their run as well, it wasn't as if they had an easy run of things because so their first fight was SawBlaze. Okay, they lost that. Fair enough. Yeah. Whatever. Move on. Yeah. And then who else did they fight then? They obviously fought Valkyrie. Mm-hmm. I can't remember their second fight. It'll come to us eventually. They fought Huge again. Fought Huge in the bracket, which is not a pleasant fight to have to deal with, but they were much better than they were.
They fought Hydra at some point.
They fought Hydra. They fought Valkyrie twice.
Yeah.
They fought Black Dragon, and then obviously Endgame.
Yeah.
It's really going to bother me that I can't remember who they fought second. But basically, it wasn't as if they had an easy run of things to the final. They fought good opponent after good opponent after good opponent, and they came second.
Gruff. Yeah. I watched that fight yesterday. They fought Gruff.
That's correct.
Of course, it was the main event, wasn't it?
It was.
That went the full 3 minutes too.
It did. It was a really good fight.
It's something again we've discussed before. The lack of knockout potential. Whiplash, I don't think had a single knockout last season, did they? So again, something that but they're aware of that. They know that they've had that issue in the past, and they've obviously tried to improve the weapon.
But the thing is, they are a lifter first and foremost. That is their primary weapon, is the lift.
Yes, or that's what it's officially noted at, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it comes to judging, so that's their
it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how they utilize the shelf, because this is another robot that needs to primary weapon. But it'll be interesting to see how they utilize the new arena hazard.
They also don't seem to have changed all that much, though. There was rumor that they've got some different setups.
It doesn't. I bet they've got some. I mean, they said last time. Well, Matt specifically said last time, because Matt always talks to us, and he's an absolute top bloke for doing so. That they've got the issue that they had in the final, especially, was Endgame's forks were just so much more protruding than theirs were. Like the forks on Whiplash last time barely went past the lifter, so it didn't really make much difference.
Right.
Whereas this time they're probably going to, chop the front of the lifter off and have much longer forks to accommodate for that. Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to see how they get on. At the end of the day, it's a robot concept that hasn't really changed since 2018, and maybe even a little bit further before that.
Yeah, from Splatter, it really is that it's the same DNA.
Oh, of course.
They got different names. It's the same robot through. I mean, it's obviously evolved since then, but the basic idea is it's the same.
Yeah.
And it just took some time for them to kind of
get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And get it right. They have done. Let's face it. top 4, top 8, top 2 in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And they are one of the most consistent robots.
Jevan, are they in your top 4?
Yes, they are in my top 4.
That's
7 now.
I wonder if the next robot's in your top 4 as well. Witch Doctor.
It is.
It is. I thought so. A radical change on Witch Doctor.
I know lots of facts about this one as well.
Yeah, okay.
If I may.
Take it away.
So, this season they have moved where the weapon motor is. It's now right behind the weapon itself. And to accommodate that, they have made the robot longer, same as Hypershock. It's interesting, those two seem to move in similar ways all the way through.
Share a workshop as well.
Those teams are basically joined at the hip, honestly.
Yeah. Their weapon is run off of 2 belts this season. They are no longer inside the Drisk. They're on the outside of the dual vertical spinner. It's changed weapon style, I would say. So yeah, they are in between the weapon and the bulkhead now on either side. Their rib cage, something's changed about that. I can't remember what it was.
They've got the bunny ears, haven't they?
They have indeed got the bunny ears, so that gives them more. That was it. Yeah, they've got more opportunities for if the Shremek does go down, that they can still drive upside down if they need to, or drive at a wall and self-right themselves.
The Shremek's super flat now. It doesn't have the same curvature as the rib cage does. It's just simplicity's sake. Yeah,
and of course they've got the lovely 3D printed new front wedge sections. Their wheels, I think, have changed in size as well. I know they used to have a small one and a big one, but I think they've changed those sizes around a little bit.
The most striking thing I immediately see about Witch Doctor is the change in colour.
Yeah, anodized pink.
The pink, purple, the purple pink. It's
magenta.
It's not. It's somewhere in there. Magenta doesn't exist.
It does.
Yeah, my printer at work would argue
exactly.
otherwise.
I was going to say the same thing. My printer
doesn't exist.
And I know you work in IT, but we don't care.
It doesn't exist in the visible light spectrum. Magenta does not exist.
You don't exist.
Steve is a lie.
Gone.
Let's face it. The other thing that's very important to note is they have changed the weapon material as well from S7 to AR500 as well. Like they've stuck with.
I think they've gone back, haven't they? They used to be AR.
Yeah, and then they went to S7, and then they've gone back again. So they've gone from wanting to bludgeon like the early Witch Doctors, the 15 and 16 ones especially were AR. Then they went to S7. They had their issues last time with the weapons breaking twice in 2 fights, which is obscene.
Yeah,
they had those new ones cut after we saw that great little segment.
That was out of AR, wasn't it, from the Chomp workshop?
Correct. And now obviously they've stuck with it, so they've obviously changed the weapon kind of design and profile to accommodate that.
Yeah.
Witch Doctor is Witch Doctor. We know what it is. It's, I don't want to say it's flawed, because there have been times when it's absolutely bossed competitions and fights, because let's face it came second in 2019. Top 8 last time around. No, top 16. Sorry,
top 16.
Around.
Yeah,
top 16.
It's
second place in 2019.
Won a bounty. Won its bounty last time. It kicked its bounty.
Won the Remars event. Beat Tombstone in the process. Beat Bronco.
It's such a dangerous robot. You don't, again, as much as it struggled last time around, it still did well. You can't write it off. And I say, with a bit more, dialing in, they've clearly done a lot of new work to this machine. It's so different to last time. It's
also worth noting they got taken out by SawBlaze, who they'd fought and taken out the previous year. Obviously, SawBlaze were going to have a Witch Doctor setup because they have fight data on that.
Let's also face it. There's got to be a best of 3 of that, surely.
Yeah,
there hasn't been yet. There hasn't been yet for other robots. Like, we haven't yet had Minotaur versus Blacksmith 3.
But Minotaur's won 2 of them though. So whereas these two are 1-1, so they've got to have a decider.
Very true.
A decider.
I mean, let's face it as well. Hypershock's fought Bite Force about 5 times at this point, hasn't it?
It has fought them 4 times. 4 times, 3 times.
3 times. Yeah.
So silly.
Let's
and not come out on top in any of them.
No.
But what do we consider a successful season? Do they have to win?
They have to be
there too much running on this?
Knocking on the door.
I think consistently performing well in each fight would be a good season.
I think top 4 is a good season.
Yeah. It's a very good season.
Anything less than that, you kind of think, well, they've changed so much, and it's just not happened for them again. We'll see. We'll see how it goes on.
I want them to do less good than Hypershock this time round. I'd like that role reversal.
That would be news. That would be newsworthy.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Nothing against Will, but man, it's been a rough go these past few years.
It has been. Normally we'd be finished at W, but there is one more robot to go.
I know. What a surprise!
And our last robot
sometimes is,
of course The return of Yeti. Who saw this? Who saw this happening?
I mean, the Facebook post from the team saying
from Greg was pretty finite, wasn't it?
We're stepping away from robot combat. That's probably it for us for the foreseeable future. And we were like, oh no, that's really sad. And then all of a sudden, hello, it's Yeti. What? No, hello. It's Yeti XC2 Robotics as well.
Yeah, Christian Karlberg coming back as well.
This looks like a Team Cool's robot. It just looks.
It's very Minion-esque.
Refined. I would say. Yes, it looks Minion-esque with a little bit of onslaught. And I can't state how much I love this design. I can't quantify it. It just
I really like it too.
Right.
It is very cool. It looks much better, I must say, with the forks down and out the front.
Yes. I will say, like, it looks for me at least, it looks quite chunky.
Yes.
Yeah. I like it can hide the forks though, they don't have to be sticking out the top, because that was always the gripe where I remember we talked about it before, where we weren't really fond of how like the motor is just kind of sticking out the top with the forks on the old Yeti, and you're like,
I believe they added that motor for more power later in the season. Having watched the 2019 season back a little bit,
it wasn't there originally, was it?
No, they did talk about adding it on after they took the forks off. They had to wait for an extra motor, so go for it. Why
not? It's so exciting to see Yeti back. We loved watching Yeti. It was never really a robot for me that I kind of thought, oh my god, I really missed it in 2020. However,
I think I feel like I missed it more having seen it back now.
Yes, I agree.
That's a good way to put it.
Like, I never really understood like the kind of mass appeal that Yeti had, but then going back and watching it, and every fight it has was always very, very fun and good to watch. Like, especially
very few boring fights.
The one against Bite Force, where like Bite Force is down onto 3 wheels. It was so close of what could have been.
They got stuck together twice in that fight.
I think so. It was pretty
2 on sticks.
Pretty mad, wasn't it? Pretty mad. Well, there is your class of 2021. Gents, as Jevan cycles all the way back to the beginning. Jevan World of Woodrow.
Hello. Do you want my top 4?
I want to hear your... No, I just want to hear your top of the pops. Who wins BattleBots 2021? No.
It's Hypershock. I'm going it.
That's brave.
We'll go Team Shock.
Tell us why.
Love them.
Okay, that's all the reason I need.
No, I think that this version they've realised that they were focusing on too much, and they brought it back, stripped it back to what they know how to do well: driving and weapon power. They've got the forks as well. I don't know if they're articulating forks or whether they are just there to be forks, but they are there. They've got the plough. They've got the setups to go against all comers. The wider base means hopefully more manoeuvrability for them in the way that they turn. They're not hopefully going to pull a Bronco and turn like a boat, because they have the speed on their side, so they may well just bounce around the arena. Who knows? But yeah, I think that everything is going to come just fall into place this season. I hope, anyway.
There's a lot of manifesting happening there, Jevan. I think you know.
I'm projecting.
Okay, good. Steve, the American Killjoy. Who wins BattleBots 2021?
Well, I may have already snuck an answer out earlier in the podcast. I'm going with Gigabyte.
Interesting choice.
But you can see where I'm thinking.
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it. The amount of spares they've got as well.
I feel like they've made the right amount of changes this time to really prepare for a deep run. I just don't know. I think they'll be their own worst enemy. That's the only thing that I can see taking them out as themselves. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty confident in hopefully seeing them at least in the top 4. But I feel like it's made the right advancements. It's gone through a little turmoil, since coming back for the reboot, even as far back as with it when they came back as Invader. Yeah, it just weird things seem to have followed them. Having that experience in China has obviously helped the team. Getting those extra fights in, of course, but I really feel like that this could really be their year. I really like this not anti, but like this vert defender kind of shell. I like the paths that they've taken. You know, I feel like it might be their time to really finally win a televised event, because they've won events before. It's not like they're a stranger to it. So, that's where I'm gonna put my money. You know, if I was betting in Vegas, this is where I would go with Gigabyte.
You got all
Mr. Similiate64.
Yes.
He wins BattleBots 2021.
So again, may have been alluded to slightly earlier on, but I'm backing the Frog King himself, Ribbot. That upgrade on the weapon power for me is the big teller, because it's always been a reliable robot. For the most part. I don't think it's been knocked out to my knowledge. Has it? I don't think so. I don't think it has been. Well, if I have, again, comments correct me. But I don't think it's been knocked out very often.
No.
And it's always lacked that.
Neither have I, Sam.
Well, yeah. It's always lacked that kind of killer instinct, I feel like. Okay, sometimes it has, knocked opponents out. We saw it against Axolotl last time around, but it didn't knock out.
Yeah. It has never been knocked out.
There you go. I'll tell you what.
According to BattleBots.com, I mean, you know how up to date that website is.
Very true.
So.
But it didn't finish off Mad Catter last time when it should have done. It did scrape its way past Uppercut. It decimated Beta last season as well. That was unbelievable. And it just lacked that killer instinct against Black Dragon as well. So I just feel like the things started to get into place. And as I said, we saw how powerful Uppercut was last season, just dishing out the punishment. And the power behind Ribbot's weapon is now even more than that. So it's not necessarily just the weapon power itself, it's the way that it spins up. It's going to be up to speed instantly. It's going to be something special to watch, and that's where I'm putting my money this time, which with our Frog. With
our Frog King.
But audience, who do you think's going to win?
Leave your comments.
Definitely.
Genuinely, leave your comments below. I want to hear everyone's thoughts on what they think of the new robots, the new changes to the arena, everything. Flood us, inundate us, share us around, make it happen.
And please comment, because man alive, this is a passion of love. This is 3 guys that just sat around for close to 4 hours, just talking about BattleBots that it may not come for another couple months, but it's in our minds and it's in our blood, and we need to just it's so important to us. And I'm glad that we're able to share it with a whole bunch of people. I mean, the fact that we've been able to do this for so long and have at least some kind of a following. I mean, you and I, Sam, when we were kids, we were happy if we got like a few views on anything. And it was just it's remarkable to see how the show's grown. And just still happy to be a part of it. So these are always fun. And they're always endurance battles, but we did it.
and as we've said we've kind of alluded to before, as long as BattleBots keep coming, we will still keep making podcasts for it. So long may it continue. With that said, though, I have been Sam at Lit64.
I've been Steve the American Killjoy.
I have been World of Woodrow.
And the 3 of us will see you at some point for the first episode of BattleBots 2021. Viva Bot Vegas, baby. Let's go.
Woo!
See you soon, guys.